The story opened with player Shin Sang-hyun being congratulated for having cleared the dungeon Ancient Dragon's Nest. A man who looked ragged sighed. He complained as to why he's working so hard when he's almost 60. This is Shin Sang-hyun at 55 years old. It's been 30 years since Sang-hyun started living as a swordsman, but his best achievement is just that he was in his country's top 100. It basically means he's just a needle in a haystack because there are so many players in the world. He saw a book and wondered if his reward this time was a skill book. He had eaten artifacts before, so it made him curious if he can eat it too. A bright light caught his attention. He was informed that Constellation Late Bloomer Model Student has entered. Late Bloomer Model Student sincerely blessed Sang-hyun for his hard work. Additionally, he complimented him for his impeccable final strike. That person who entered so dramatically is his contracted constellation, Late Bloomer Model Student. Sang-hyun thanked him for his compliment. Sang-hyun felt grateful to him for contracting with him when he's just a mere third-rate swordsman. With Late Bloomer Model Student, once the player reaches level 850, all artifact and title stats will be doubled. Once the player reaches level 900, the said stats will be tripled. Sang-hyun's current level is 650, so he is now way near the power spike. Because of the insane conditions, he has yet to benefit from having Late Bloomer Model Student as his constellation. Late Bloomer Model Student urged him to eat the skill book. Sang-hyun had this excited but tired expression on his face as he poured mana on the artifact. Then he said, "I'm going to eat it now! Devour artifacts." It's the skill that Sang-hyun acquired when he awakened. In order to understand his skill, he tried to boil and eat artifacts. He also tried frying them, but it didn't feel anything different. By the time he finished his useless experiments, 30 years had passed. When he used mana synchronization with an artifact of a suitable rank, he realized that it activates his Devour Artifact skill. However, by the time he realized how to use his skill, it was already too late. Others grow stronger as they awaken. Old man Sang-hyun failed to synchronize. He watched the book and threw it since he got pissed. He complained how it didn't come with instructions or something. He couldn't believe that it was a skill book. Late Bloomer Model Student says that there is very limited information about that skill available and apologizes for not being able to help. He suggested that since there's a lot of time, Sang-hyun should compromise once more and start mana synchronization again. The statement, "a lot of time," irked Sang-hyun. He was on the verge of tears since he doesn't have a lot of time given that he's almost 60. He stated that if he had a child at 30, then that child would be turning 30. And if he had a child earlier than that, then he might have grandchildren by then. He emphasized that humans die early. Late Bloomer Model Student apologized if he said something wrong. Sang-hyun replied that he didn't do anything wrong. He explained that it's just because he has a lot of regrets in his life, and his constellation noted that statement. Sang-hyun couldn't forget that person's back, so Sang-hyun tried his best to become like him. But now he's exhausted and too old. He stated that if only he's a little younger. His constellation kept on listening. And then Late Bloomer Model Student grinned. Then Sang-hyun advised the Late Bloomer Model Student that he's going to retire. And since he's canceling his contract with him, he advised him to just go to another player. Suddenly, Late Bloomer Model Student used his power, and this surprised Sang-hyun. All he could see now was a distorted version of his reality. That scene was his last memory as a 55-year-old. Late Bloomer Model Student utilized the essence he had experimented with, and the regression has begun. Dungeons and gates are basically the environments that awakened people, or in other words, players work in. He asked if that's correct. This person speaking is Park Jong-min, aka the player G, a reporter. A red-haired mature woman answered that it's correct. This person is Hyun Jaeon Corporation CEO Han Hyun Jaeong. She explained that dungeons can be called stepping stones for players, and as for the gates, they are other dimensions. In other words, they connect to unknown regions, and those are places where players must explore and pioneer. Jong-min asked her what she thought about that year's dungeon. The interview kept going and a black-haired man watched it. He commented that he had really regressed. Guess who this guy was? You're right. Our old man MC Sang-hyun. Sang-hyun had finally grasped the situation, but 4 days had already passed. He had gone back by 30 years. After that, he lost consciousness, and when he woke up, he was in his studio apartment from 30 years ago. He was surprised to see that he wasn't in his 55-year-old body, but he's in his 25-year-old body, along with all his memories before he regressed. And no matter how much he thinks about it, the reason he regressed must be because of the constellation's miracle. There was no other explanation. He was still confused but decided to leave it at that and work out instead. He has a venomous dagger, a bronze artifact, and a one-handed dagger. It has plus 17 attack power, plus 10 agility. It is described as a self-defense dagger, and it does not become blunt easily. It's a bronze tier dagger that Sang-hyun was lucky to acquire. Its rank may be low, but he's aware of its hidden skill. The absorption rate is being determined, and later it resulted in an absorption rate of 10%. Previous use of the artifact is applied retrospectively, resulting with the final absorption rate being 20%. Even though its absorption rate is low because they haven't used it for long, what's important is its hidden skill. The mana synchronization with Behemoth's dagger has begun. Sang-hyun entered the gap of unconsciousness. He now had this new look with his hair being colored white. The gap of unconsciousness is the space he needed to bypass in order to eat an artifact. Sang-hyun expressed how he's always nervous when he comes there. A plate with whole chicken appeared. The system window informed him that the preparations to absorb Venomoth's dagger is complete. A rotisserie BBQ chicken drizzled with olive oil was served. Sang-hyun was relieved that it's a normal dish. He was worried something like a humid swamp centipede dish was going to come out. He commented that if it's a dish like this chicken, he can eat it any time. The absorption of Venomoth's dagger had begun. He had permanently acquired the stat +2 agility, and a hidden skill Demon Bash has been acquired. Venomoth's dagger, which has been completely absorbed, will disappear forever. Sang-hyun commented how it's a shame that it got destroyed, but it's not like he used it either way. Sang-hyun obtained a useful skill like he planned, and it was time for him to go. At dungeon number 85, Team Yoon Daekyung, someone called Team Leader Yoon Daekyung. Daekyung asked what the Porter Group leader was doing there. The Porter Group leader shared that one of his team members pulled out. It was a newcomer that joined 4 days ago, and his name is Shin Sang-hyun. Daekyung told the Porter Group leader not to worry about Sang-hyun, since it has been decided that he will join the player team. The Porter Group leader was surprised that Sang-hyun is joining the player team and not the Porter team. Daekyung stated that he gave the final approval. He asked if there's a problem. The Porter Group leader expressed that it's a problem since it hasn't been long since Sang-hyun has awakened, and the guy hasn't finished the player academy yet. The Porter Group leader stated that adding a guy like that to the player team has never been done before. He added that the team will be unbalanced and he'll have problems with the distribution of work. Daekyung towered over the Porter Group leader, which terrified the leader. Daekyung pointed out that he takes care of everything like his party and the contribution system distribution. The Porter Group leader remembered that and apologized. When the Porter Group leader left, Daekyung complained about them. A player asked Daekyung why accepted Sang-hyun. Daekyung was unimpressed that this player was asking the same thing. Daekyung simply stated that if there's someone who's going to die, it would be Sang-hyun, not them. He wanted Sang-hyun to act up and die so those porters would shut up. That way their value will be maintained. Daekyung doesn't believe that a level 1 idiot can do anything. The player didn't expect that that would be Daekyun's intention. Sang-hyun greeted them. He introduced himself to them and stated that he'll be working as a player. Everyone looked at him with a scowl on their face. Daekyung had a devilish grin on his face. In his head, Sang-hyun thought of how everyone is expressive. He expected that much, but he thinks they're going too far by not even hiding their expressions. Daekyung welcomed him with a fake smile. He told him that it's nice to meet him and thought he's going to be late on his first day as a player. Daekyung noticed Sang-hyun's weapon. It was a longsword. Sang-hyun replied that he studied a lot of videos on YouTube. Daekyung told him that a long sword is one of the hardest types of swords to wield. Sang-hyun replied that he will try to at least protect himself, so Daekyung should trust him. Daekyung laughed out loud and was pleased with Sang-hyun's spirit. Daekyung stated that men need to have spirit, just like how Daekyung is. Daekyung announced the beginning of the dungeon raid. They're ready to go wild. Daekyung instructed them that once they enter, they should stand by at the entrance. He watched them enter the gate. He kept his eye on Sang-hyun. In his head, studying on YouTube sounds ridiculous. To him, it seemed like Sang-hyun was looking down at the dungeons. He finds Sang-hyun arrogant just because he awakened and became a player. And to him, it seemed like Sang-hyun had a death wish. According to the raid strategy that Daekyung procured, the orc dungeon is like the Wailing Wall for newbies. Daekyung was confident that Sang-hyun, that stupid idiot, will know his place very soon. But later on, his jaw dropped because of the so-called stupid idiot. They all turned pale as they saw the corpses. It was insane. It made him think about who Sang-hyun really is. Sang-hyun stood in front of a large monster that he had just beheaded. Dae-kyung couldn't believe his eyes. Sang-hyun's posture oozes with confidence, not a newbie would have. Orcs are monsters that appear mostly in games, novels, and movies with fantasy settings. Because the humans were so familiar with them, it was only given that humans have prejudices against them. They thought orcs were weak. Of course, when compared to other monsters such as dragons, they certainly are weak, stupid, and just violent. Because of this, new players who are arrogant often jump into a fight against orcs without really thinking too much. Orcs' traits are rather simple. A man charged, but to his surprise, the orc grabbed his face. On average, they are 250 centimeters tall and weigh 180 kilograms. This physical trait gives them an overwhelming gap in power against humans. The orc easily crushed the human and blood splattered all over the place. For this reason, orcs were given the nickname, the Wall of Lament. A few moments before our MC's power was revealed, Dae-kyung's party was walking in the corridor. A player called Sang-hyun and told him that he's not going to get any special treatment for being a newbie, so he's on his own. The other player passively expressed his annoyance at Sang-hyun by calling him an arrogant bastard behind his back and spitting. Sang-hyun simply smiled and told them that he will try his best. He realized that no one is nice to newbies. A man scolded him by saying that he shouldn't just do his best, he needs to do well. They were being really rude to him. Sang-hyun was silent for a moment. Then he asked if he could fight on the front lines if they came across a monster. A man was about to tell him that he's insane, but he stopped mid-sentence. He was terrified at what he saw. There was an orc behind Sang-hyun. It's Sang-hyun's battle after regressing. He was about to volunteer to take care of it when a player with a shield went in front of him and blocked the orc's attack. The man scolded Sang-hyun, saying he's out of his mind. The man doesn't believe that Sang-hyun can use a greatsword when he moves that slowly. Sang-hyun told him that he doesn't need help. The player with the shield told him to shut up and prove his skill. Sang-hyun told him to look in front of him. The man didn't finish spouting rude remarks. Suddenly, he gasped. When he saw Dae-kyung charging at the orc and pushing it away, the orc fell on the ground. Dae-kyung scolded the player and Sang-hyun and told them to get their act together. The player apologized. The other player was impressed with Dae-kyung's move. Dae-kyung told them to stay back as he takes care of the guy. The orc attacked, and Dae-kyung blocked it with his shield. He yelled that it was nothing. He stabbed the orc on the chest. The other players were impressed with his move. They asked if it was dead now. The orc made a loud noise while it grinned. Then it raised its axe. Dae-kyung almost got hit. Too bad his attack earlier didn't kill the orc. Sang-hyun just watched them. He knew that Dae-kyung was the one with the highest level in there, but he's only at level 50, so he can't land any critical hits on the monster. Dae-kyung charged at orc. He pierced it again while screaming at it to die already. The orc fell. Everyone rejoiced that he killed it. They were impressed that he made it on his own. Dae-kyung had a smug look on his face as he replied that it was nothing. He asked them if they're all right. Everyone was pleased, and they expressed how dependable Dae-kyung is. They were about to go when suddenly they heard a loud noise. Several red orcs were marching towards them. Everyone got terrified at the sight of the high orcs, and there's armored orcs too. They asked the team leader what they should do. Dae-kyung decided to fall back for everyone's safety. In his head, he already had a hard time taking down one orc, and now those orcs have arrived. To their surprise, Sang-hyun asked permission if he could try. Everyone was just pissed at him, on top of thinking that he's out of his mind. Dae-kyung acknowledged that Sang-hyun must be excited that he had awakened. He hadn't finished his sentence yet when he saw Sang-hyun charging at the orcs. Dae-kyung yelled at him that he's going to get killed. With a single swing of Sang-hyun's sword, a high orc was defeated. Sang-hyun commented that a great sword is nice. He made a clean cut too. Upon witnessing that, everyone's jaw dropped. They couldn't believe their eyes. A high orc was split into two. Sang-hyun wondered if it's because he's still at level 1 that the slice didn't feel as clean as he knew it could get. About the player Sang-hyun, he doesn't have title and constellation yet. He has an exclusive skill called Devour Artifacts. He has consumed one artifact. His HP is at 200, MP is 20, EXP at 40. The other orcs got agitated. Several orcs charged at once. Sang-hyun uttered that he may be low level, but he has quite the experience under his belt. He charges forward while swinging his great sword, slicing up several orcs on his way. Another orc attacked Sang-hyun. Sang-hyun easily evaded that attack, and in just one swing, he sliced up that orc. He told the orcs that he had killed a lot of them when he was younger. The players had their mouths gaped open from the shock. They're starting to believe that Sang-hyun could actually kill them all. Sang-hyun was down to the last orc, and it was the armored orc. It's gigantic and has a huge shield, too. It made a loud orc noise. When it attacked, the ground shattered. Sang-hyun was serious. Sang-hyun's great sword had hit the orc, but it only scratched it. Daekyung got worried because the skin of the armored orc was too thick, and the attack didn't work. It was a dire scene. The armored orc was ready to attack again. Its weapon is just a few inches away from our MC. Sang-hyun smiled and said that they didn't need to be so dramatic. The armored orc was surprised. Sang-hyun activated the skill Demon Bash Level 1. Demon Bash is a hidden skill which has 15 seconds cooldown against the same target. It hinders a target, either a monster or a human, for 2.0 seconds. The success rate and time of hindrance depends on the target's skill resistance level. Sang-hyun told the armored orc to just stay like that. The armored orc made a loud, pained noise. Sang-hyun beheaded it, and blood flowed like a river. The players were all stunned. They couldn't believe what they had just seen. The corpses scattered in the area, leaving Sang-hyun the only one standing when he just awoke a few days ago, and the hindrance skill that he just used. It wasn't even ultra-short hindrance. Daekyung knew that even a named player's best was 1.5 seconds. They all think Sang-hyun is too skilled with the great sword. They started considering asking Sang-hyun on what kind of YouTube videos he watches. Daekyung couldn't get over that Sang-hyun used hindrance against an armored orc too. It doesn't make sense to him since Sang-hyun just awakened only a few days ago. He wondered where he got that damned skill. The system congratulated Sang-hyun for leveling up. He had fulfilled the conditions for a title. He had been given the F-rank title, Fearless Immature Puppy. Fearless Immature Puppy is at F rank and increases evasion by +5. Sang-hyun didn't really care about the level up, but the title is a bit unexpected. The system informed him that he has unused bonus stat points. He was required to choose which stat to raise by +1. Sang-hyun had already decided which state he would raise. I learned this too late in his last life, but the luck stat is directly related to skill hit rates and artifact drop rates. It's a necessity for him at the moment. The system informed him that his player's luck has increased. Daekyung asked him if he's really Shin Sang-hyun. Daekyung confirmed with him if the skill he just used was hindrance. He inquired where Sang-hyun learned that skill. In Sang-hyun's head, he answered that he just regressed and he's putting his skills to good use. He can't say that though, so he simply replied that he got it when he awakened. Daekyung was agitated and told him that it doesn't make sense. He told Sang-hyun not to avoid the question. He asked if it's actually because Sang-hyun got insanely lucky and got a diamond rank artifact, or even something higher. Daekyung was staring at Sang-hyun's sword when he said that. Sang-hyun offered his sword and asked Daekyung if he wanted to check it. Daekyung was surprised, but he accepted the gesture. He saw that it's a faded great sword, an ordinary artifact, a two-handed weapon with an attack power of +50. It is a normal great sword of normal design without any special abilities. Daekyung was surprised to know that it's really a regular great sword. So his next question was, if the skill is really Sang-hyun's. Daekyung felt bad since he's been running dungeons for 2 years, but he doesn't have a skill as good as Sang-hyun despite him being at level 50. He also thought about the pay for that day. Someone called the team leader and reported that the middle boss is up. Daekyung had a scowl in his face, but he replied that they'll get going. Daekyung told Sang-hyun that taking care of the minions became easy because of him, but he reminded him not to overstep too much. He told Sang-hyun that his nice skill isn't going to do anything against the demon orc that they will be fighting soon. Sang-hyun remembered the reason he returned to that party as soon as he regressed. Sang-hyun called the team leader. Daekyung expected him to say that he's scared, but Sang-hyun negotiated that if he kills the demon orc on his own, he wants the artifact. It's the reward for killing it. The party Sang-hyun chose to pay people according to their performance. The Crimson Stone is an artifact that can only be attained by defeating demon orcs. That being said, even after defeating hundreds of demon orcs, it is said to be difficult to obtain. Rather, its chances of dropping are extremely low. However, in Sang-hyun's past life, after their team failed to defeat the demon orc, they were lucky enough to see the Crimson Stone when another team was lucky enough to get their hands on it. Back then, Sang-hyun was all bruised up when he heard someone congratulating a captain. The captain was bald, had a round face and body, and he's holding the round Crimson Stone. The other players asked him how he managed to get it. He asked them if it would sell for a huge sum in the market. Someone is aware that it's one of the only artifacts with the delay skill. The captain told the player to stop talking so much because it felt like he's spitting. Back then, Sang-hyun was intrigued with the delay skill. That was the skill he desperately needed. So, at the present time, silence enveloped the room. Sang-yeon brought up the topic that the party distributes based on contribution, so if he defeats the monster himself, he assumes that there would be no issues. Daekyung was quiet. It's important for Sang-yeon to obtain the delay skill at that moment in preparation for the future events. However, most people would think badly of newbie players who are cocky like that. Sang-yeon expected that no one would take him seriously. They asked him who he thought he was. They told him to get off on his high horse when he doesn't mean that much just because he killed a few orcs. Sang-yeon told him to calm down. Daekyung told him to do as he pleased. The players were surprised with Daekyung's response, but Daekyung clarified that Sang-yeon could do that only if they failed to defeat the boss. Only then can they enter the dungeon on their own and kill it himself. In Sang-yeon's head, it was easier than he thought. Sang-yeon confirmed if it meant that he'll be stepping out of the battle. Daekyung told him to do as he pleased. Then he started walking forward. The players hurried to catch up to him while telling him to wait for them. In Daekyung's head, that cocky bastard acts like he is the shit just because he has one broken skill. Daekyung told himself that he will make sure to clear the dungeon and shush Sang-yeon. He pushed the door open while thinking that he will show Sang-yeon that experience is what matters on the battlefield. Daekyung was surprised to see the inside. The system informed him that they had entered the room of the middle boss. The torches were lit up on both sides of the room, and at the center stood the middle boss, a bloodthirsty demon orc. He instructed everyone to prepare for battle. Although the monster looked intimidating, he had heard that it is easy to defeat. He ordered the players to circle around it and attack it from the rear. In Daekyung's mind, he won't let Sang-yeon have the chance to solo play. Daekyung decided to take the lead. But in a blink of an eye, Daekyung was lying on the floor while his forehead was bleeding. He was dumbfounded as to what happened. Sang-yeon was worried when Daekyung and the other players started running. His expression was funny when he thought that Daekyung and the others would just charge at it head-on. It's the reason why they failed back then, too. The players were scared and were backed into the corner. They knew if it kept up, they would die. Daekyung wondered why it was so strong. Even the previous high orc, too. He realized that he shouldn't have taken the advice he got from the markets. Daekyung ordered everyone to retreat, but then he saw Sang-yeon, who smiled at him when he heard that. They think something is wrong with Sang-yeon for still wanting to solo play. Regardless, Daekyung ordered everyone to retreat. Since it has low peripheral vision, they will make a break for it on its flank. Everyone was relieved to hear that order from Daekyung. Daekyung addressed Sang-yeon. He emphasized how he warned him already, and if he dies, he shouldn't hate him. Sang-yeon smiled and replied that Daekyung shouldn't worry about him. With conviction, Sang-yeon stated that he won't die. The demon orc charges at Sang-yeon. If they purely compare the stats of the demon orc and him, he would never be able to win. However, with all the experience Sang-yeon had gained, he slashed the demon orc. It growled loudly. The players stopped when they heard a clunk. It meant that Sang-yeon managed to deflect the axe. Sang-yeon expressed that his hand stings. It made him realize that deflecting the attacks is all he can do. The demon orc growled again. Sang-yeon set his eyes on the crimson stone chained on the demon orc's chest. It's been a while since he saw it. The reason why Sang-yeon is obsessed with the crimson stone is the special effect combining the delay skill and his own status skill, Demon Bash. It is hard to see how the 2-second stun that Demon Bash currently has can be improved considering it is pretty decent. However, with his proper skill, Devour Artifacts, he is able to combine the effects of the different skills, which gives him an idea to try and see what will happen if there is a skill that allows him to stack the stun effects of Demon Bash. That would be the ideal combination of skills, giving him an infinite stun. So, if he can get the delay skill, it is more than possible. He challenged the demon orc to come at him. The demon orc made a loud noise. Then it raises its axe and charges at Sang-yeon. That's exactly what Sang-yeon wanted. So, he can find the monster's weak spots. The demon orc's axe hit the ground. Demon Bash level 1 has been activated. The demon orc was stunned for 2.0 seconds. Daekyung couldn't believe that the skill worked on middle bosses. It's such a broken skill. Sang-yeon knew that orcs are simple, but he expected more from the demon orc. But then Sang-yeon was caught off guard. The demon orc had kicked him. He used his great sword to stop him from flying further backwards. Sang-yeon admitted that he forgot about that. The demon orc has self-regeneration ability. The demon orc's self-regeneration ability has lifted the stun effects early. In order to stun it again, Sang-yeon needed 15 more seconds, and it's why he needed delay. He decided that if he can't stun him, he will defeat him instead. The demon orc charges at him once again. To Sang-yeon, defeating him was simple enough. Daekyung watched them, but the other player told him that they have to go at once. The player commented that Sang-hyun's skill isn't even working. Daekyung asked why. Daekyung knew that the stun skill doesn't work, and there is a massive gap between the stats, so it's a puzzle to him on how Sang-hyun could still make a face like that. Daekyung questioned if he's truly a newbie player. Sang-hyun had experienced the same situations in the past. If he's too weak, he just needs to focus everything on one point. He abandoned cutting the enemy. Instead, he used their strength to his advantage, to pierce through. Few moments later, lots of broken weapons could be seen. The system congratulated him for defeating the middle boss, Demon Orc. Sang-hyun had leveled up. He had obtained the E-rank Demon Hunter title. The title gives him health regeneration by 5-fold when facing middle bosses or above. Now Sang-hyun has 2 titles. He guessed that it's the benefits of being a solo player. He saw Daekyung and the other players marching towards him. They were all dumbfounded. In order to avoid situations like that, one thing came to Sang-hyun's mind. He acted like he almost died. Then he buttered up at the leader, saying that he would have been dead if not for the leader dealing that damage earlier. He convinced a player, and this player asked Daekyung when he would do damage like that. Daekyung was confused. Then it sank in. He watched Sang-hyun, who has a smug look on his face. His expression conveys to Daekyung not to be stupid. Daekyung saw the Crimson Stone. Daekyung interpreted Sang-hyun's message as to keep his promise. He mumbled to himself that it's his complete defeat. He announced to everyone to pay attention. Now that they have defeated the middle boss, they need to get ready for the final boss. They ascended the stairs with their morale being boosted. They still don't believe that the newbie managed to defeat that thing on his own. They wished for that stun skill too. But the other player told him it's useless, since it doesn't work on middle bosses. Now that the audience is gone, it's not time for Sang-hyun to eat the Crimson Stone. This is a silver artifact, which is an accessory that has the special effect called Delay, and it increases health plus 10 and strength plus 10. It is a rare item that can be obtained by defeating the Demon Orc, a crystallization of strength, tenacity, and endurance. Our boy didn't waste any more time and entered the gap of unconsciousness. Sang-hyun was served by Master Chef's Bibim Naengmyeon with meat jelly. He was pleased. It felt like everything was going his way. The system informed him that he is ready to absorb the Crimson Stone. He took a bite, and absorption of Crimson Stone was in progress. Per the 20% base stat absorption rate of silver rank, his strength and heath stats increased by +2, and he gained the special effect Delay. He can now add the effect of Delay on his skills. That made Sang-hyun nervous for some reason. He binds it to Demon Bash. He was informed that the effect of Delay has been added to Demon Bash. If he uses the Demon Bash before the first stunned state is over, he is guaranteed an extension into a second stunned state. The third has a 90% chance, the fourth has a 60% chance, and the fifth consecutive use has a 30% chance to continue extending the stunned state. Sang-hyun's consciousness came back to his body. Sang-hyun was happy that there is a guaranteed 4-second stun. He only guessed it would be possible theoretically, but it did work. Daekyung approached him so they could talk. Daekyung told him that right in front of them is the final boss room, the Orc Berserker. Sang-hyun asked if Daekyung wanted him to join in. Daekyung replied no, which surprised Sang-hyun. Daekyung stated that he would be a failure as a leader if he didn't utilize a member like him. He extended his hand for a shake hand and invited him to work together. Sang-hyun clasped his hand with Daekyung, saying that his conditions are still the same. Daekyung agreed to it. The yellow-haired player approached Daekyung to report that they are ready to enter the boss room. Daekyung replied that they should get going. He advised everyone to keep their guards up. The yellow-haired player had a scowl on his face. Sang-hyun noticed that and was confused by it. Daekyung boosted their morale by saying that it's the final stretch and afterwards they will go drinking. Sang-hyun wondered why the player glared at him. At dungeon number 85 final boss room. The final boss looked scary with its sharp, huge teeth and grim appearance. The final boss is called the Orc Berserker. It had long hair that covered its face. Daekyung told Sang-hyun that he will go in first. But Sang-hyun stepped forward and told him to stick with him. Sang-hyun's action shocked them. They advised against it. Sang-hyun knew that Orc Berserkers have lower skill resistance compared to Demon Orcs, so it should be easier to stun it if he attacks calmly. Sang-hyun expected not to have any problems. Orc Berserker charges forward. Sang-hyun thought about his words. Stick with me, and doubted that he ever said such words of confidence. When he was young, he was just scared all the time, and after he grew old, he struggled to stay alive. He doesn't want to live the same way again. He knew he needed to change. He's talking about his weak past and his future. And to do that, he needs to show and prove to everyone in there. Daekyung watches him and comments that he's a monster. Because Sang-hyun displayed his overwhelming abilities. With just one slash, he was able to almost sever half of the boss monster's body. He yelled at them that the orc will be stunned for 4 seconds. Demon Bash Level 1 has been activated. He urged them to go in and nuke the orc berserker. The orc berserker was in pain. It was slashed all over its body. The system congratulated them for defeating the orc berserker. And they have cleared the dungeon called Altar of the Crimson Orc. The black-haired player with a shield commented that the dungeon was easy. Another player replied that stun made things easy. The porters wondered if Sang-hyun had a personal porter already. One of them plans to ask him. But the other porter didn't like that, because he wanted to ask too. Seeing how fast they turned against each other made Sang-hyun feel uncomfortable. The system informed him that he leveled up and obtained the D rank with Overwhelming Power title. This title makes his status effects last 10% longer. He commented that he's harvesting a lot of titles. He never got titles in his previous life, but still, it was nothing compared to a certain man. He's talking about Do Gyung-soo, the Ghost Blade, title collector, the complete sword. He is the strongest swordsman player in Korea and has many titles. Only 2 years after the age of players began, he's a monster who surpassed level 500. Before Sang-hyun regressed, that man was just someone he looked up to. But now, he planned to catch up. He thinks he had a chance if he worked harder. His fired-up action made Daekyung ask what he's doing. He simply replied that he's just stretching. Daekyung praised him for the great work and gave him an item. Sang-hyun was surprised. He accepted it and asked what had gotten into Daekyung. Daekyung acknowledged that Sang-hyun carried them, and he told him that what he gave him is just a bronze rank so he can afford to be generous. Sang-hyun pointed out how blunt he is. Daekyung joked that he wouldn't have given it to him if it was too expensive. But in his head, he is giving that Sang-hyun since they won't be seeing each other from then on. It hurts, but Daekyung admitted to himself that Sang-hyun is on a different level from them. Meanwhile, the yellow-haired player watches them from afar. He's furious that Daekyung is taking more care of that bastard just because he showed his skill a couple of times. He felt bad, because he had been Daekyung's servant for so long. He felt that it was unfair. He whipped out his phone while saying that those motherfuckers should die together. He called someone. The next day, at Sang-hyun's house in Songpa District, Jamsil-dong, Sang-hyun felt happy that he's a player. Porters only get about $200 a day, but his bank account has 6 million. It looked like Daekyung had given him more than double the others. And a bonus item, too. The item was a berserker ring. It is a bronze artifact support equipment. It has a special effect called Lighten and adds strength plus 10. It is a ring that can only be obtained from orc berserkers. It's a ring that draws out the blood rage of the wearer. Even if it's just a bronze rank, he still got it for free. He has to spend 1 mana every second to reduce the weight felt from all artifacts equipped to 1 gig. He now understands why it's bronze. Most players would run out of mana before they swung their sword. Well, that was for most players. Sang-hyun discovered his ability only after 50 years, but that's exactly why he studied so hard. He devoured an artifact that needed mana in his previous life as well. But the results were shocking. The special effects of artifacts that require mana do receive a penalty, but they lose their mana cost. Our boy was now excited to just do another of his mukbang challenges. The mana synchronization with Berserker Ring had begun. Sang-hyun didn't care about the penalty because he believed that the more skills, the better. Meanwhile, at Private Club H in Seoul, Gangnam District, the yellow-haired player yelled that he's not lying when he said that the bastard had a 4-second stun. The man asked him if he's raising his voice. That made the yellow-haired player cower. The man asked why he would care. He asked the yellow-haired man if he wanted to get revenge. The yellow-haired player replied, no, since the bastard is definitely loaded. The man asked what exactly he wanted him to do. The yellow-haired player insists that he wants business. The large ma'am concluded that the yellow-haired player wanted revenge. The woman beside the scarred man whispered in his ear and asked if they're not very close. Then he called the yellow-haired guy and cut his ear. The scarred man asked this poor player who he thought they were. He reminded the guy that they are not his personal servants. Then the man poured a liquor on the player's ear while telling him that he would pay the price. The man told him that he will listen to him as much as his ear is worth. He asked where the hell that bastard is. The next day, at Jamsil 4-3 training grounds, Sang-hyun sat on the staircase. He ate cold cucumber soup and obviously didn't like it. But that's what it came out of the Berserker Ring. He felt nauseous. But he's optimistic. There's always light at the end of a dark tunnel. He made his sword twirl in the air effortlessly. The sword felt so much lighter. Lightweight is always active, and there's no cooldown. Due to the effects of the Devour Artifact skill, the mana consumption effect of the old skill has been deleted. As a penalty, the effects of lightweight have been halved. The weight of all artifacts will be effectively 100 grams. Sang-Yun decided to settle for a great sword for the time being. He liked that passive effect. He checked his player info. He is not at level 7 with 3 titles, no constellation, an exclusive skill called Devour Artifacts, and he has consumed 3 artifacts. His HP is 324, MP 32, EXP 307. Then he also checked his status menu, and it showed 13 strength, 12 stamina, 12 dexterity, 10 mana, 16 luck, 15 evasions, 10 defense. He needs to start grabbing the attention of the constellations. Since a player can only have 1 constellation, he had to think about it carefully. If possible, he wants someone who goes well with his best stat, luck. But he knew he lacked the stats to grab the constellation's interest. So, all he can do for now is training. He now stands in front of 100 training dummies. The next thing we see is that the car drove fast. Sang-Yun came out of it and thought he was going to die. He realized that 3 straight days of training and long-distance driving was too much. But he did manage to gain a new skill, ambidextrous sword training, a passive skill for swordsmen. It increases his adaptability with all swords, excluding daggers and one-handed longswords. He is in front of dungeon number 101, a solo player exclusive dungeon. Sang-Yun knew that it would take him months of waiting in line just to enter a solo player dungeon. He was happy that he could drive to one. He noticed something. There was a black car nearby. He didn't expect them to follow him into the forest. He doesn't know what they want, but whatever it may be, he plans to take care of it in the dungeon. Several men entered. It was a group of men that the yellow-haired player talked to. Someone said that they are in a dungeon for solo players only. That surprised the man with a scarred eye. Sang-Yun was waiting for them by the side. He knew that there's no way they entered the wrong dungeon. "This is my spot," he said. The men asked him if he's a fucking idiot. Sang-Yun knew that they are no ordinary party. He told them that he won't report them if they just leave. He saw that the group doesn't have a healer of a mage. They discarded sustainability, something necessary for every dungeon clear, and formed a party composed exclusively of swordsmen and an archer. Sang-Yun is aware that they are a party who specializes in hunting humans, called the Hyena Pack. The large man commented that Sang-Yun thinks highly of himself. The other man called Sang-Yun an idiot because if he dies there, they won't even recover his body. In the past, they have been eradicated by the Players Association's constant surveillance. Sang-Yun replied that he's well aware of that. For parties like them, the archers are the hardest to deal with. The archer replied that they should wrap things up quickly. Sang-Yun stated that it's exactly what he wanted from them. If he needed to get rid of the bodies, there's no other place than inside the dungeon. That angered the large man. The man with a scarred eye stated that they do it the easy way. The large man replied that ripping Sang-Yun's mouth off is the easy way. Sang-Yun affirmed them by listening to their boss, then urged them not to waste his time so they should attack all at once. The large man uttered that Sang-Yun better shut his fucking mouth. He attacked him. Sang-Yun anticipated the attack. Sang-Yun thought that the statement survival of the fittest suits the dungeons well. Monsters are always after his life in dungeons, and within those same dungeons lie artifacts that people are after. Their life is always on the line. They die if they're weak, and there are no rules or laws when they're inside a dungeon. So they have to kill if they want to live. That's what Sang-Yun experienced in his past life, and it still applies to this age. As a result, everything that happens there is just self-defense. The large guy was down and he challenged the rest to come at him. This scene even looked like he took down 2 men, but in reality he just slashed him in half. The 3 ran as fast as they could. They planned to keep their distance from him and cover them while they got into their positions. The archer understood. He couldn't believe that Sang-Yun killed Sang-Ho. Even if Sang-Ho was an idiot, he's still at level 100, and their enemy had just awakened. Sang-Yun twirls his sword as he sets his eye on the archer. "Hey, where do you think you're going?" The archer released his arrows while screaming that Sang-Yun is a fucking monster. Sang-Yun moved and sliced the arrows. The archer couldn't believe it, and that was the last thing he saw. Then he was hit by the greatsword. The rest were shocked that Sang-Yun threw his greatsword for the kill. But they took that as an opening. Sang-Yun ran towards his sword. The enemy thought it was the perfect time to attack him since he doesn't have a weapon. The man with no left eye screamed at his colleague to attack at once. The sword had pierced the archer's chest. Sang Yun is running towards the archer while the two enemies run towards him. Sang Yun almost had his sword, but he noticed them. They attacked him at the same time. There was a blinding light, and it surprised the enemies. They didn't hit him, because Sang Yun was balancing himself upside down using his sword as a stand. They called him insane. Sang Yun pulled out his sword. The man was shocked that Juntae, the man without left eye, grabbed his head. Juntae moved the man to act his shield when Sang Yun swung his sword. That was instant death for the meat shield. Sang Yun realized that the group was organ dealers. Sang Yun knew that there's just no way all of them are working together under the idea of trust. So he guessed that their goal was the awakening of the mana stones through the organ transplants. Sang Yun revealed how he had seen many things in the past. Guntai asked what difference it would make if Sang Yun had that knowledge. In the end, he'll just die at Juntae's hands. But Sang Yun was calm, and he simply replied that he was just asking. Sang Yun activated the Demon Bash level 1. Sang Yun expressed that he thought they would bore him to death. Juntae was stunned for 4.4 seconds. Juntae was confused about how stunned he was. He remembers the small cuts he had on his fingers when he shielded himself using the other man. But he couldn't believe such a broken skill would exist. Sang Yun announced that it was over. That made Juntae confused even more. He refused to die that way, especially when he's the one who always kills. He used to be friendly with the newcomers, and they would trust him, but in the end, he would kill them. Juntae was used to being the predator. Sang Hyun asked him if he hadn't experienced it before. He probed if Juntae is scared now that it's his turn. Few moments later, blood stained the ground. Sang Hyun wiped his sword while telling himself that he shouldn't get used to situations like that. Now he feels that there's no chance he'll get a constellation. Then he argues that it was self-defense. He glanced at the weapons on the ground and acquired all those artifacts, a really profitable loot. Sang Yun wore his coat. He is now at level 10. He already consumed 11 artifacts. His HP increased to 400, MP 50, EXP 12. All his stats had increased too. He wished he could have avoided the situation, but based on results, he thinks it was worth it. He's glad that he didn't get fat from eating artifacts. Though, just based on the stats, he's basically as strong as players who have reached level 50. He commented that his growth rate is crazy. He checked his pocket and took out a ring. It is called the Recovery Ring. It uses 10 mana to cleanse any status abnormalities immediately. If used again within the next minute, the mana consumed will double. The large guy that charged at him in the beginning had that ring. It was unexpected. But then Sang Hyun realized that if he had put his trust in his stun, he could have been fucked. He knew to be careful next time. The mana synchronization of the recovery had begun. At dungeon number 101 Internal Access Road. The goblins walked on that path. Then one goblin noticed something. It was Sang Yun. Sang Yun approaches them carefully. The requirement to obtain the Lucky Day title was to kill 500 monsters with eyes closed. The goblins were confused, until it noticed something. It liked the shiny sword. Upon seeing that, it drooled. Sang Yun was surprised that he could sense their presence. He needed to sense the airflow and listen to everything carefully. He knew that he needed to maintain a focused state. Our boy now looked more like Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen. He could hear the droplets of the water falling. He sensed more of it. He told himself that he got this. The goblin rushed towards him, but with just one slash, Sang Yun easily killed them. The area was painted with blood. Sang Yun was surprised that it actually felt good. There was an incoming attack. He had sensed it. He deflected it since he's gotten used to fighting with his eyes closed. He stopped an arrow with his hand. The archer goblin was surprised. Sang Yun stated that just recently he was in a terrible situation. But thanks to that, he got to reminisce about the past. As a result, that helped him hone his senses. He challenged them to come at him. A mob of goblins attacked him. He slashed them easily. He cut off their heads. He was in a killing frenzy, until one goblin was left standing. This goblin felt terrified. He knows he's done for. Subscribe and comment "Goblin for the win" in the comment section below if you reached this part. Sang Hyun's sword dripped with blood. He's now standing in a puddle of blood. The system informed him that he had leveled up, and he obtained the D-rank Lucky Day title. He happily removed his blindfold. The title Lucky Day grants him plus 20 luck, and whenever he defeats the same type of monster, his luck stat will increase by 0.1 and it can go up to a maximum of 10. He was pleased that he's getting the titles that he wanted. More goblins came out of the corner. They were alarmed to see the state, that most of their comrades are in. With an intimidating expression, Sang-yun took this chance to gain some extra points. Sang-yun is still at level 10, but his HP is now 500, MP 60, EXP 223. His luck stats increased by plus 30. Our boy was trembling in happiness after. So much so that he laughs out loud. And it's because his luck stat increased just because of the title. He estimated that it could be worth 500 million, or even $1 billion. But then a red light appeared behind him. His expression changed as soon as he realized that this event came out sooner than he expected. The system informed him that 3 constellations have come for him. There is the cleaner of a fallen dimension who asks if he has any interest in making others unlucky. The pilgrim of grand space is intrigued by his mysteriousness and is requesting a conversation. And the goddess of luck is smiling at him as she reaches her hand out. Sang-yun thought it was quick. He asked them what they think about the little show that he puts on. Then, goddess of beauty approached him. I mean, goddess of luck. It made him wonder if he got too cocky. He's uncertain because he never experienced it in his past life. But he ought to be more confident. The goddess of luck smiled at him and expressed her interest in him. She is intrigued because she had never seen a lucky swordsman before. Sang-yun replied that people told him that he's been pretty lucky. Deep inside, Sang-yun felt relieved that the constellations were interested in forming a contract with him. He decided to take his time and confirm it. Cleaner of a fallen dimension praised him for his hidden cruelty. Cleaner of a fallen dimension is a common constellation for slayers. Sang-yun wondered if he's interested because he killed all of those goblins in a short period of time. The pilgrim of grand space is curious about Sang-yun's true intentions. Sang-yun had no idea why he appeared, but he's certain that this constellation only appears to players who have the affinity to become a saint. If that's the case, Sang-yun could only assume that he appeared because of the goddess of luck. He heard that she's pretty popular, even amongst the different constellations. In short, these guys are just simping over her. Goddess of luck then noticed him staring, and expressed that since she does not have any exclusive desires, even if Sang-yun were to choose a different constellation, she promises that he can still contract with her at a later time. Sang-yun remembered that it was an incredible merit. He thought about an archer who's able to hit his target even when shooting into empty space. With the blessings of the world, there was no need to worry about him running out of arrows. That is the Archer of Miracles. Hashimoto Yuki, or the Archer of Miracles, was given the greatest of praises among archers. Given his destructive powers and high luck stat, even though some people suspected that stories of his deeds were mere lies of hoaxes. In reality, it was thanks to his 2 constellation contracts. The one who allowed the impossible to be possible was the goddess of luck. Sang-yun informed them that since 3 constellations appeared before him, he would have to think about it. The 3 constellations insist that he ignore his worries and decide his own fate. One constellation argues that he might have made the wrong decision. He knew that Goddess of Luck is an amazing constellation, but if he considers the possibility that he won't have any other constellations visiting him, Sang-yun's decision here will decide his fate as a player. At the end of his first 10 years as a player, only one constellation decided to reach out to him. It was the late bloomer student. His appearance was like a ray of saving grace to him. Sang-yun was delighted. Although it was miserable up until then, he thought he had a bright future ahead of him. However, nothing changed. Nothing happened until he turned 55. He never knew how much help a constellation can be. It was all because of those ridiculous requirements. Although the power of a constellation is important in a player's career, he was never able to use it. In fact, Sang-yun never bothered to use it. But in the end, he was able to regress thanks to the late bloomer student, so he ought to be grateful. But that also meant that he needed to be careful. He had to assume that he won't be able to regress again. He had to decide between holy powers, destructiveness, and luck. He thought about it. He pressed the accept button. He had signed a contract with the goddess of luck. The goddess of luck was a bit surprised. Sang-yun was informed that even if he were to die, the player's contract with the constellation will be valid for 30 years. A being from another dimension carefully observes Sang-yun and Goddess of Luck as they sign their contract. 15 friendly constellations are congratulating Sang-yun on his contract and wished him the best. 3 hostile constellations, who are planning on forming a contract with Sang-yun, have declared that they will do everything to stop his progress. His reaction was, "What the hell?" He was puzzled as to why so many of them are interested. He decided to let go of that. He extended his hand to the Goddess of Luck for a shake hand. The Goddess of Luck reached for his hand and praises him for his wise decision. Manhwa dealer also approves your decision, Sang-yun. Great choice. Good job. Sang-yun then glances at the screen and asked him for his wish. He has 3 options. A. All attack attempts will result in critical hit. B. Obtaining an artifact with a rank of unique or above will unlock its effect. C. He has a 100% chance to obtain an artifact from middle boss and boss monsters, even if their rank is low. Sang-yun's jaw dropped. All of them are broken skills. The goddess of luck looked proud. And it's not over yet. Option D is that when he uses the points he can gain when he levels up, he can increase his stats by 2 with 1 point if he had invested in luck. The effect will be applied to all bonus points that have already been used. Receiving the 100% critical chance and a guaranteed artifact drop made Sang-yun emotional. He knew it was all thanks to his hard work. Goddess of Luck inquired on what he will do with the other constellations' offer. Sang-yun told the two that they can return now, and he will focus on his goddess. The Pilgrim of Grand Space said that he will wait for the next time that they will meet. Cleaner of a fallen dimension warns Sang-yun as he will try his best to cut off his head. Meanwhile, the goddess looked like she's in a good mood. She praised him for standing his ground. With the effects from Goddess of Luck, he won't need to worry about the near future. Sang-yun thought that there would be a better chance later. At the dungeon number 101 final boss room, Sang-yun fought with a large hunter-like creature. The goddess looked worried. Sang-yun was about to deal the final blow, but the final boss blocked his sword using the 2 axes. The final boss is consumed by greed, Goblin Lord. It unleashed an attack which pushed Sang-yun backwards. Sang-yun used his sword to steady his footing. The Greed Goblin Lord made a loud noise. With that, Sang-yun had been inflicted with status ailment, Overwhelm. Sang-yun had been waiting for that. Although it's not as deadly as stun, it's able to forcibly reduce a target's motivation to fight. Sang-yun used Recovery. The final boss released an attack that shattered the ground, but it was left confused. Sang-yun defended himself with his sword. Even though there are clear limitations to that skill, it's not able to completely stop the target from moving. He thought it would be useful when killing weaker mobs. Sang-yun activated Recovery. It was time for him to test his luck. Due to Recovery, Status Ailment Overwhelm has been deactivated. The Greed Goblin Lord knew he was doomed. Sang-yun slashed its shoulder and activated Demon Bash. The Goblin Lord has been stunned for 2.0 seconds. Sang-yun took note of those 2 seconds and stunned it for another 2 seconds. The effect of delay has been activated and the effect of stun has been extended by 2.0 seconds. Sang-yun kept slashing. The boss's blood splattered. Sang-yun was informed that the second effect of delay has a 90% chance of being activated and the effect of stun has been extended. He was impressed that the second time worked too. The terror made the final boss squeak. The Goblin Lord stood there. Sang-yun looked exhausted. Eventually, the Greed Goblin Lord fell. Sang-yun was congratulated for clearing the suffocating Goblin Swamp dungeon, and he also leveled up. He had obtained the D-rank title, Don't Touch Me. Sang-yun was relieved that it was finally over. The D-rank title, Don't Touch Me, gives him plus 30 luck, plus 10 evasion, and an additional effect of strengthening one of his skills. The player system will apply buffs accordingly. He thought about it. First, there were those thugs who followed him, and now the dungeon. It's almost like he's pushing his body too much. Thank God he's young. The Goddess of Luck mentioned that he must have some pretty good luck if he was able to do everything he did that day. It was funny and slightly annoying since he thought, instead of luck, people would and should assume that he was just skilled. The Goddess of Luck says that having good luck is a skill as well, and that she is glad that she supports suck luck players. Sang-hyun noticed how quick she is to change her stance. Sang-hyun decided to level up his luck stat first. He was impressed that his luck stat is already over 100. Once one stat is over 100, any related effects receive a 10% additional bonus. For example, his evasion stat increases his evasion rate, and his luck stat increases artifact drops rates. He took the shield of the final boss. Shield of Goodness is a silver artifact that has a special effect called Sacrifice, and its effect increases plus 20 defense. This is a shield left behind by the warrior goblin Goodness. Using mana will increase the shield's effect and convert any damage taken to health regeneration. However, mana will be consumed during the entire conversion process. Sang-hyun stated that he's a guaranteed drop thanks to the goddess. It made him wonder if increasing his luck stat increases the rank of the artifact drops. Mana synchronization with Shield of Cudness has begun. The goddess hugged him in delight. He knew she would be bothersome compared to the late bloomer model student. Few hours later, at the quest area near Jamsil Station, a receptionist told him no. Sang-yun told her that he understands her, but he has his own thoughts in his mind. The receptionist told him to rethink the idea. She expressed how the volume of body she looked at that day, but Sang-yun won't let that stop him. 2 hours ago at Honam Expressway, he was worried since it was a shield that the goblin used, but he's glad that he only got rice and kimchi. His car started to sound funny. He wondered what's going on. All the warning lights lit up. It made him think that he might need to get a new car. The car is one thing, but he also needs to move soon. Being at an awkward level, he's statistically more likely to be involved in more crimes, and he can't keep living in constant fear. It will be easier for him to live in a player town where constant surveillance is present. And with all the artifacts, he would need to think about buying used equipment to make the process easier. It made him lost in thought, because for all of that, he needs money. He needs a lot of money, and at present there is only one place where he can make that much money. The system was created alongside the age of players. With its appearance came quests and an organization that manages those quests, the Players Association. In a system controlled by the Players Association, he can do it. Sang-yun was determined to do it. With that, he's off to Quest Arena. At the present time, he has made no progress. The receptionist encouraged him to just enter an appropriately suited dungeon for him. She asked why he's insisting on entering a level 100 dungeon. Sang-yun tries to convince her that he won't cause any trust issues. Even though he's only 17, going to a low-level area right would be a waste of time for him. The woman told him that someone said the exact same thing, but the result put her into tears. She begged him to just go to a lower-level region. Sang-yun understands what she's saying. Plenty of people have died because they overestimated their abilities. However, he decided to remain steadfast. A woman approached them and asked what the issue was. The receptionist replied that it was nothing. She's Kim Miso from the Eden Guild. She is at level 100 and an A+ player. Kim Miso is nicknamed the Marksman of Devastation. She's the first player to reach level 100 and earn the title of Marksman. Although her skills are incredible, what makes her stand out is that she is the daughter of Shinsung Biotechnic's president, Kim Yunchul. What this means is that Kim Miso, also Shintaeri, the shadow assassin who is known for her title and for being the nation's greatest assassin player and one of the nation's greatest swordsman player Cho Jinho, are members of the same guild. And that guild is Eden. Miso is the daughter of the majority shareholder corporation of the Eden Guild. In other words, she was born with the greatest diamond spoon in player history. She told Sang-yun that she had never seen him before. She told him that she watched him. She inquired if she's interested in starting a level 100 quest. Sang-yun admitted that he needed the money. The other players noticed that Miso talked to Sang-yun first. They thought badly of Sang-yun. One player told them to leave him since he's just a newbie. Sang-yun heard the gossip of these bastards. Miso told him that the place would be challenging for him. Sang-yun responded that he's well aware of that. Then he concluded that it's because of high risk, high return. Sang-yun didn't act like that because he hates her. Even though he was rejected when he requested to join her party before he regressed, he convinced himself that he's not holding a grudge. Miso asked him if he's aware that he is unable to proceed with the quest since solo players aren't allowed. That's when Sang-yun realized that the solo player quest ban is only going to be lifted 4 years from then. He downplayed it by saying that he must have read the announcement wrong. Then he started walking away. Miso had a suggestion. She invited him to come with her. The bastards who were watching them felt jealous. It made Sang-yun cautious. He wondered what she's planning. She inquired about the conditions. Miso replied that she's just helping a fellow player. Sang-yun replied that he had a hard time trusting people. Miso insists that she doesn't have conditions. Rather than a condition, she wants him to make a promise that if he happens to disappoint her, he will pay for it. However, if he can back up his words, she will apologize for his actions. Sang-yun realized it, that she wanted to test him. Miso's influence doesn't stop at being a player. Any clothes that she wears skyrocket in price. Anything that comes out of her mouth is noted in dozens of articles. However, the moment that she sees a player filled with confidence, it pretty much guarantees the end of the player's career. Sang-yun leaned towards her and suggested that they should leave at once. He finds the situation interesting. Is she waifu number one? Well, we'll find out. A few moments ago, we see Miso's driver sends her off and tells her that he will be waiting for her there. Miso advised him to do what he needs to do, because it might take her some time to finish things up. Most of the guild members were busy that day, so she had no choice but to look for new party members. Then she heard the commotion. By coincidence, she had a reason to work with Sang-yun, because of regulations regarding minimum party size for quests, which was a huge inconvenience for Miso. During that time, she just happened to see a player full of confidence, and as it was a situation where she doesn't know how the player might react, she grew to be interested in him. She asked the receptionist what quest Sang-yun wanted. The receptionist pulled it up on the screen, and she showed Miso. It is a defense quest where they have to eliminate all the monsters running toward the Guardian Tower. The quest is considered a failure if the Guardian Tower's core is destroyed. The monster types are wolf-like monsters, and the target monster count is 300. The recommended level for taking this quest is level 100. This quest has a reward of 500 million won. Miso was surprised that he didn't choose a fetch or raid quest, but a defense quest instead. Due to the restriction of the quest, it is only possible to clear the quest if they defeat all the monsters. That is why a 4-man party with at least one ranged damage dealer is recommended. And yet, Sang-yun wanted to do it by himself. Miso saw it as a suicide mission. Sang-yun asked her if she's nervous. She asked if she heard him right. Sang-yun explained that it's because she wasn't talking for a bit, so he was worried that she got nervous. He told her that if she thinks that it's going to be hard, they can wait for more people to come. He thought of a tank, or even another ranged damage dealer. The receptionist's jaw dropped upon hearing that statement. Miso trembled from holding in her anger. Sang-yun kept talking and Miso grabbed his arm. She emphasized to him that there's no problem at all. Then she clicked the accept button. With that, they will be relocated to the quest area. They were covered in bright light. The receptionist expressed how she wished that nothing would happen. More like, nothing better happens. The bastards continued to gossip if they will succeed. They couldn't believe that a level 17 newbie cleared a level 100 dungeon. One player noticed that Miso might have something in her mind. She's the youngest player to be ranked A+ after all. They knew she wasn't stupid. Then they talked about the new ranking system that the Players Association created. It was created because it was hard to determine how strong a player is based on their level. There are 2 criteria in getting their rank. The first is the number of dungeons cleared, and second is the overall battle sense of a player. Miso was ranked A+ solely because of her battle sense. Someone asked what is A+. Then a guy explained that it means there are monsters even stronger than her. One guy uttered that it's not what is important. The other man was confused as to what it was, and the guy replied that it's simply that newbie going in with Miso. They all felt jealous of this lucky guy. At the defense quest, the Age of the Night and Wolves, waifu number 1 held her bow and arrow. She knew that she needed to take responsibility for her words. She decided to do her best to help him if anything dangerous happens to him. Sang-yun glanced at her. Miso hoped he took this chance to learn his lesson. 30 minutes ago, Miso asked him what he just said. Sang-yun reiterated that she doesn't need to get involved unless he asks for her help. He told her that as long as she focuses on supporting him, he promises to give him 5% of the cut. Miso realized she wasn't hearing things. Sang-yun told her that a 5% cut for supporting him should be a pretty good deal. She asked him if he thought that she said that because of his terms. She corrected him by saying that there's no way that he can handle that quest, especially when there are at least 300 of them. 300! She added that the quest is already difficult even for a level 100 like her. She noticed his expression. Sang-yun told her to wait and see. She let out a sigh and agreed, but she renegotiated that she gets a 1% cut increase for every monster that he missed, and he won't get anything if he loses 95 of those monsters. The monster appeared. It growled fiercely. Sang-yun told Miso that it won't ever happen, because he plans to take care of them all. The monsters attacked him. Miso was confused. Sang-yun swiftly slashed the monsters. After killing a few of them, he swung his sword to get the blood off. Sang-yun commented that the monsters made some pretty pleasant sounds when they died. Miso started thinking that he wasn't just an ordinary arrogant player. She saw that there were no flaws to his strikes. His stance emphasizes his superior reach. This is what Jinho, a warrior who played in her guild, talked about. A perfect balance of offense and defense. And on top of that, Sang-yoon avoids any pointless movements and slays multiple enemies with each strike. But she knew that he still had a lot to improve, and there were just too many of those monsters. She thought that they are not monsters that an ordinary level 17 player can handle. But seeing the grin on Sang-yoon's face, she doubted her belief. Then she noticed that something was off from the start. She saw the monster's behavior. Sang-yoon activated the Demon Bash skill. The monsters are motionless. She wondered if he used stun. Her excitement made her lose balance. Meanwhile, our boy was still busy fighting the wolves. Miso was on the edge of the wall and almost fell. She argues that anybody could tell that Sang-hyun just used stun. Even though he's being conservative, it looked like it lasted for 4 seconds. If it did, it would mean that his stun lasted longer than Jinho. If that's the case, he'll have more than enough time and resources to defeat all those monsters. It made me so curious on who he truly is. Sang-yoon noticed something. The normal wolf-type monsters were being ripped apart. They were thrown in the air as if something bumped into them. Sang-yoon uttered, "There you were." He's talking about the black wolf. It growled loudly. Sang-yoon had never faced this in the past. He wondered why he felt a sense of nostalgia from seeing it. Due to the black wolf, Sang-yoon is currently under the effect of debuff and stun. He was surprised that it used the same skill as his. Then the black wolf released lightning towards Miso, who was on the rooftop of a tall building. She was safe because of a barrier. It is due to her current artifact, so she's saved from debuff and stun. She just remembered that the black wolf used stun too. She felt ashamed that she's there trying to criticize Sang-hyun when he's in danger. She pulled her bow back. She assumed that Sang-hyun has a way to activate stun on his enemies. But for him to have a method to undo the effect, especially for someone at his level, Miso thought that it was unlikely. Sang-hyun activated recovery, and the effect of debuff and stun has been deactivated. He charged forward. Miso couldn't believe it was possible. A nearly perfect swordsman's stance and an extremely long stun. On top of that, he has the ability to deactivate debuffs. All this when he's only a level 17 player. Unbelievable. Sang-hyun asked the Black Wolf if he's surprised. Sang-hyun understood that it made sense, since the prey, who should have been affected by the stun, suddenly started moving again, and in that short moment of panic from the Black Wolf, Sang-hyun stabbed it. It gave him the chance to seal the deal. The Black Wolf made a cute kyang sound upon realizing that it was doomed. It was like this monster was affected by a stun. Sang-hyun emerged from its tail and complained that the blood got all over his clothes. He thought he would get away if he slid under the Black Wolf. Since he's already dirty, Sang-hyun decided to have some fun. Miso watched him from the top of the building. She looked impressed and baffled as to who the hell is that guy. Sang-hyun sat on the corpse of the giant wolf. At this point, he had defeated 299 out of 300 monsters. The system notified him that he had leveled up. With that, he obtained the D-rank title, No Fear. With that title, any status debuffs caused by wolf-like monsters are ignored. However, boss monsters are exempt from this. He glanced behind him to check Miso on top of the roof. He grinned as he realized that she's starting to see his skills. He could tell that she was full of contempt just watching him clear the stage. That made him decide to keep putting on a show and being the finale. A large wolf growled. It was the final boss, Full Moon Wolf Lord. It let out a powerful punch. He remembered that irregular attacks are its specialty. It was confused when Sang-hyun jumped high. He told the wolf that in 30 years, all its attack patterns will be analyzed. He slashed it since he knew every move that it would make. The system notified him that due to the Lord's skill resistance, Demon Bash has not been activated. It was the first time it didn't work, and it must be the final boss's perk. Miso commented that Sang-hyun was insane. She noticed how there aren't just a handful of things to note about him, and not only does he have a method to deactivate the stun debuff, but he's also capable of handling that heavy-looking sword as if it's a feather. The Wolf Lord growled loudly. It tried to bite him but missed. It glared at him and growled. He deflected its paw with his sword. Then the Wolf Lord got confused. Miso noted that he's also aware of every irregular move pattern of the Wolf Lord. Sang-hyun was aware of everything, especially when he had done that countless times. Miso identified the worst thing about him, and that is his attitude to prove his strength to her. While he was dealing with the Wolf Lord, their eyes met, and he smirked at her. It made her curious on who he truly was. The battle continued at the bridge. It was taking longer than Sang-yun initially thought. And now, he's out of cool tricks to show Miso. He expects the Wolf Lord to be tired by now, but it was still full of energy and was chasing him at full speed. At the rate they're going, he'd pass out before it. His HP is at a critical level. But he noticed something. It was a familiar pattern, where the Wolf Lord used his strong attack as bait for a counter so that he can go for a piercing attack. It was the signature attack pattern of the Wolf Lord that took the lives of countless players. And although he hadn't used one of his techniques in combat yet, he was now desperate. He cut off the wolf's arm. But the Wolf Lord raised its other arm. Miso turned pale as she witnessed Sang-yun being clawed by it. She fell on her knees, and tears pooled on her eyes. She called herself an idiot. She realized that she doesn't have the right to call herself a player. She realized that even if Sang-yun has shown incredible feats of strength, she let her guard down and allowed it to happen. She apologized to him. To her surprise, a bright light suddenly appeared. The system notified that the shield of Kudness has crumbled into a pile of ashes and was lost forever. Then, the special effect, Sacrifice, had been obtained. Sacrifice bestows healing and has a 30 seconds cooldown. With it, all damage dealt to a specific body part is converted into healing. If the damage dealt exceeds the player's total HP, the player will regain health equal to their max HP. Sang-yun found out about this conditional healing skill earlier. The system prompted him to pick a body part to apply Sacrifice on. The system showed him points in the body. He couldn't believe it was that specific. Now he had to choose between 16 body parts. Thinking logically, choosing his rear side would be safer. But since the back is divided into 4 parts, he thinks it was too inefficient. So to him, it made much more sense to select the front part of his body. And it worked. Due to Sacrifice, he has regained his max HP. Even if he missed even a little, he would have died. But it was unfortunate for the Wolf Lord. With that, Sang-yun's worries were taken care of both at the same time. Demon Bash Level 1 has been activated. He didn't expect that when he cut off the right arm, it would break through the Wolf Lord's resistance, causing it to be stunned. At this point, Sang-yun pushed his luck. Later on, Miso stood in a pool of blood. The Wolf Lord was defeated when Sang-yun's stun worked on his 3rd try. But it was still good enough. He saw Miso approach him. She stared back at him. She sighed and told him that he should have informed her that he had a healing skill. She really thought he was gone. It made her ask him if he's living a second life or something, since he knew all of the Wolf Lord's attack patterns. She shared that she met countless players before, but she thinks that he's the first to baffle her that way. She was about to conclude what she's saying, but when she saw his expression, it made her stop mid-sentence. Sang-yun asked her, "As if what?" Miso got distracted with the pressure in the area. Then she continued her sentence that it was as if she's watching a rancor. Sang-yun was nervous since he thought she was going to say that he regressed, but he was nervous for nothing. It made sense to him that an ordinary player wouldn't be able to think that far ahead. She asked him if he's going to finish off the Wolf Lord. He forgot about it. The Wolf Lord gave a low growl. He told it that he would kill it at once. After that, he obtained the C-rank title, Face Off. He checked his stats. He read that when the target is in an isolated state where there is no backup within 5 meters of its radius, Face Off will activate and increase all of his stats by 20%. Once the target is no longer isolated, the effects of the title will disappear. He was happy that his first C-rank title is a specialized one for one-on-one combat. Miso could tell that he just received the title. It made him ask if she had cleared the stage before. She replied that she soloed it, but she felt guilty and admitted that she only managed to do it because of her artifact. He replied that getting the right artifacts also requires skills. She thanked him for the compliment, but she couldn't tell him that the artifact she has costs more than 200 billion won, and comparing herself to a person like someone who just used an ordinary greatsword felt off. She changed the topic by suggesting that he test out the effects of his new title. He asked her what she meant. The title, Face Off, has been activated. The system notified him that there is no else within a 5-meter radius from the target, except for him, so the effects have been activated. He canceled its effects. Then Miso informed him that she had to head out first since she needed to call her porters to help move all of their loot. Since loot drops and monster parts are part of the quest rewards, calling a porter is the next logical step. He could tell that he made a good impression on her since he did all the work. Miso remembered to tell him that she'll give him a 5% cut of the quest rewards. He didn't expect that. He thinks it's unfair to her. She replied that it's fine, so he should accept her offer, especially when she believes that there will be plenty of chances for them to work together again. She urged him to think of it as an investment. He realized how cunning she is, and he can't really put his guard down around her, now that he's all alone. It was time for him to check his long-awaited reward. It was a blue moonstone, a platinum artifact. It has the special effect called the Age of Dogs and Wolves and gives plus 100 health, plus 100 mana, plus 50 luck. It is a precious stone that's imbued with the beliefs of the Silver Wolf clan that worship the blue moon. He was so happy. He celebrated finally having a platinum rank artifact. A platinum artifact will easily fetch over 1 billion won, and with it, he'll be able to afford an apartment in Seoul. The goddess of luck asked if he believes in her now after feeling the sensation of winning in life. He questioned why she would thank him when it was his own luck that got him there. The one with the ripped lips raised objections about the goddess's luck. The player system has proposed to banish the goddess of luck. The goddess of luck has requested the constellations connected to the player system to vote on the matter. The vote to banish the one with ripped lips started. Eventually, they had a unanimous decision that the one with ripped lips can no longer operate as a constellation. Sang-hyun wondered if that was okay. Going back to his business, he expects to absorb 40% of the platinum artifact, and its special effect called Age of Dogs and Wolves has no cooldown. While the moon is up within the dungeon, the user's health recovery and regeneration rate will increase by 5 times. Also, regardless of whether the moon is up or not, any dog or wolf-related monsters will be permanently stunned when faced with the user in possession of the blue moonstone. In other words, he'd be basically invincible against those dogs under a full moon. The mana synchronization with the blue moonstone has begun. At the quest area lobby. He passed through the portal. He was surprised when he exited. The players are all waiting for him. They couldn't believe that he cleared a level 100 dungeon on his own. They believed it since they trusted Miso. Miso told the receptionist not to worry. She told her that if she was in her place, she wouldn't allow a level 17 player to attempt a level 100 quest either. She acknowledged everyone's efforts. Miso suggested that she familiarize herself with Sang-hyun, since he might become a regular there. Sang-hyun almost forgot about the receptionist. He knew it must have been tough for her, so he feels bad for her. Several men rush towards him to give their calling card to him and recruit him. One of them is Yoon Joo-han, the recruitment team leader of the Guardian Guild. Other men competed against him. Miso blocked them and told them that she had something important to discuss with him. It made them think that Eden Guild is also recruiting Sang-hyun. She gave a non-verbal cue to Sang-hyun, which led him to just agree. He knew that she got him out of the mess, but it looked like she's planning something. After that scene, a car drove away. Inside that car was Sang-hyun. He saw on his bank account a 500 million won. He was pleased with it. He expressed that he never thought he'd get paid that easily. Miso replied that it was all thanks to their A-rank porters, but her influence also played a part. He thanked her for everything. Miso called her driver. The car switched to secret mode. Sang-hyun expected that there's always hidden intentions behind acts of kindness. Miso gets on business. She invited him to Eden Guild. He was caught off guard on how straightforward she was. She was confident in her guild, especially when other players called it paradise. She's confident that he won't regret it. Sang-hyun expected this situation. Before he regressed, he was just a regular member of a small-time guild. Back then, that sense of belonging gave him some sort of comfort. It was a small guild that took in a talentless player like him who had nowhere to go. He felt warm and nice there, until the incident where they were all killed happened. He also knew that no matter how good the infrastructure is, at the pace he's going, a guild would just shackle him. So, it was best for him to go solo. He was about to decline her when she cut him off by asking if he's planning to start a solo guild. That made him shut up. He couldn't help but acknowledge how sharp Miso is. She replied that it's natural since she's the daughter of a major corporation's chairman. And knowing his abilities, it was a no-brainer for her to conclude that. She told him that it's important that she's the only one who knew about it. He understood that she'd start a solo guild, yet she still laid all her cards on the table and showed interest. Plus, she created a mutually beneficial relationship. He realized what a shrewd negotiator she is. After a while at Playertown's C. Jamsil station vicinity, the real estate agent discussed that the deposit is 100 million won and 5 million won would be the monthly rent. Sang-yeon joked that she says it with a smile like it's nothing but it actually sounds intimidating. She laughed and replied that he got a good deal. When they're done, she leaves. The process was quick and easy. Sang-yeon didn't expect that the people on the waiting list would drop out. He wondered if it was because of the goddess of fortune. He set his things down and watched the view through the window. He reflected how a short time had passed and yet so much had already happened. He went through regression, confusion, and rapidly changing situations. He spent days just trying to understand what was happening, even though there weren't any results. He wasn't sure of how he would proceed, but then his thought process completely changed. He felt a sensation that he had forgotten. It was the rush of blood flowing through his body, even though he hadn't done anything yet. It was the feeling of youth, and because of it, he couldn't stay still. With that, he swore to live his second life differently and not as pathetic as before. After making that decision, opportunities for growth just kept pouring in. While in the car, Miso received a call from reporter Park Jung-min. She laughed as she learned that he already heard the news. Sang-yeon got curious about what they were talking about. Jung-min heard that Sang-yeon did the quest with her. Jung-min is a reporter from the Player magazine. Miso started chatting, but he requested that she get to the point because he's catching the attention of his colleagues. The car arrived. Sang-yeon alighted and thanked her for the ride. Before he leaves, she informs him that they are planning to explore an unconfirmed gate soon. It was a 4-person free team for players level 120 or under. Sang-yeon excitedly replied that he'll go. She stated how he refused the guild offer so coldly. And yet he's excited about something like that. He was happy with the chance to finally enter a gate. Dungeons are fixed locations, and once he goes in, the entrance and exit are set, and traps and monsters follow a predictable pattern. But gates are dynamic locations. The entrance and exit move during the raid, and sometimes monsters change too. But the greater the danger, the greater the reward. It's the rule of the player world. And in unconfirmed gates, there's a first-time bonus system where they can definitely get a high-rank artifact. He assumed that Miso has experience with unconfirmed gates too, because she has an artifact that ignores the Black Wolf's stun debuff, despite her level. Miso told Sang-yeon that she'll contact him once more detailed information is available. She expected to be consistently in touch with him. She gave her phone to him so he could input his number. Her screensaver showed altars of dead people. She got flustered when she realized that it was on that screen since she didn't mean for him to see it. She mumbled that her mind is a mess. Sang-yeon remained quiet. He realized that she must have situations going on, but it was natural because there's barely any player who doesn't. In his case, he has a past that he can never talk about openly. He couldn't fathom what would happen if someone knew that he regressed. He thought about Late Bloomer. It made him curious about what he's doing now. He had grown attached to him since they had been together for several years. He wished he could see him again. Meanwhile, at the Eden Guild VIP room, Miso sat there while fiddling on her phone. The man across from her uttered that he wished they could chat over coffee, but she was just busy with her phone. He asked if she's waiting for someone to contact her. She replied that she's messaging Sang-yeon since they are preparing to enter a gate together. The man teased her that she really liked him. She yelled that it was nothing like that. The man knew Sang-yeon as the person who can maintain stun even longer than him and the person who coldly turned down her offer. Miso suggested that he should start worrying about himself. The man questioned why. Miso replied that Sang-yeon's swordsmanship was quite impressive. She thinks it was better than him. He laughed it off and told her that she's taking it too far. The man stated that comparing Sang-yeon to him is too much. This person is Jo Jin-ho, a level 700 rank S player of Eden Guild, at Jamsil Training Ground 4-3. Sang-yeon received a call from Miso. She wanted to talk about the recent gate appearance. He didn't expect that there would already be an update. She told him that she received news that there was an unconfirmed gate near Chunni Station on Line 7, about 500 meters northwest of it. It seemed like all the regions to the middle checkpoint had been investigated, so she sent him information regarding the intersections. He told her to wait as he took a look at it. He opened his phone. It had details about the mid-boss of the gate, which is the dog of hell, Cerberus. The projected raid level is 100, and its main characteristics include having 3 heads and the ability to project heat. He was happy to see that a dog showed up right after he got his skills, too. He didn't expect to have the chance to test his skill this soon. The skill Age of the Night and Wolves is a passive skill with no cooldown. While the moon is up inside the dungeon, the user's health, recovery, and regeneration speed will increase 5-fold. Regardless of whether the moon is up or not, any dog or wolf-like monster will be permanently stunned when faced with the user in possession of the blue moonstone. When the moon is up, all dog and wolf-like monsters are unable to attack the user. Sang-yun thanked Miso for the details and told her that he'll call her soon. The man in front of him teased him for acting that way even though he called him there. Sang-hyun apologized to this man, whom he called Captain. The man laughed and admitted that he was just joking. The man stated that he should have known he'd be that way since he's considered a celebrity now. He told Daekyung that he's not a celebrity and that he still has a long way to go. Daekyung could tell that he hadn't gotten a call. He was confused about what he's talking about. Daekyung showed him his phone, and it showed that Sang-yun was on the first page of the Player magazine. He was so surprised. Daekyung laughed at his reaction and encouraged him to take out his phone. He expected it to be flooded with calls already. Sang-yun's phone kept on ringing. He didn't want to be on the first page of news. He was annoyed that they did that without letting him know. Daekyung teased him that everyone is already contacting him, which implies that he's popular. He replied that he wasn't. He put his phone aside and decided to get on business. Daekyung gave him a bag since he mentioned that before. He gladly accepted it and thanked him for it. Daekyung replied that there's no need to thank him since it's not like he gave it to him for free. It was some of his old artifacts. Daekyung was curious what he needed them for if he could just buy new ones. His reply was vague, like he just wanted to admire history or continue Daekyung's legacy. Of course, Daekyung doesn't buy it. He defended that it was a superstition that he believes in. But deep inside, it was because artifacts that haven't been used for a long time have a better absorption rate. While they were conversing, a woman approached them and apologized that she was late. She informed them that she had trouble finding a parking lot. Then, she invited them to get the appraisal started. Sang-yun asked who she was. Daekyung replied that she's the appraiser that will help them with their deal. He brought him in to make sure that both of them would get a fair deal. They laid out the artifacts. She used her powers on it, which made those items glow brightly. Eventually, she was notified that the artifact appraisal had been completed. She took a deep breath. Then she advised them that they have a fair deal and they could proceed with it. Daekyung unsheaths his sword before they seal the deal and asked Sang-yun if he could take a look at his sword skills. Sang-yun politely refused since he doesn't believe that he's good enough to give him advice. Daekyung told him to drop the humility. He told him that after everything that they have gone through, he's not stupid enough to not notice that he is above him. He added that he's not arrogant enough to take advice or two from others either. Sang-yun had a sour look on his face since he doesn't want to be involved in something like that, but he saw his expression and acknowledged that he swallowed his pride. So he knew that ignoring someone who just wants to do their best is rude. So he agreed and told him to give everything he got. Daekyung immediately assumed a combat stance. Then she told the appraiser to stand behind him. Daekyung gave his all in showing his moves. Sang-yun was impressed that he had gotten stronger since his last dungeon. He could tell that he has been training since then, but he watched him swing his sword. Then he called him. Daekyung thought he was asking him to stop when he still has a lot to show. Sang-hyun asked him if something was wrong with his left arm. He asked him how he knew. Sang-hyun noticed that whenever he swung his right hand, he opened up his left shoulder too quickly. He could tell he was being extra careful with it. Daekyung pouted. He admits that he was right. He revealed that he had trauma when it came to defending his left side. He told him that most of his injuries are from training, and even dungeon scars are all on that side. He was aware of it, but he couldn't fix it. Sang-yun told him that he could. He told him that things like trauma can be overcome much more easily. He advised him not to hide his shortcomings and find a way to embrace his strengths, like the way he holds his sword and how he breathes. He knew that it would be difficult at first, but it will benefit him in the long run. He taught him to apply pressure on the blade using a specific finger. Daekyung said that it doesn't look easy. Daekyung groaned and complained that it hurt. Sang-hyun replied that he should hold on a little longer. Their interaction made the appraiser blush. She continuously misinterprets the conversation, and it makes her redder. She wondered what was wrong with them. And with the position of those two and the conversation they're having, it's easy for her to think they're doing something intimate. She couldn't believe her eyes. When she got home, her search history was all about boys' love. Meanwhile, after that, our clueless MC drives his car. He was humming while driving. He was in a good mood since he just finished a good deal, despite having to spend over 400 million won. He knew that the benefits he'll gain would be way more than what he paid for. He could tell Daekyung was satisfied with his sword lesson, but he also noticed that the appraiser had this weird look on her face by the time they finished. He hurried home so he could eat the artifacts and see what kind of progress he'll make. He's also excited for the next gate, so he planned to call Miso about it, but he encountered an unexpected situation. Some men stood in his path. He immediately stepped on the brakes. He puts his head out on the window to apologize to them and ask if they're okay. Those men were actually waiting for him. They threatened him to get out of the car. He was confused. The other guy stated that it was those idiots who reacted that way. Out of the blue, a bright light illuminated Sang-hyun's face. It was because the man created flames on his hands and threatened to burn him along with the shitty car. Sang-hyun remembered them. They were Choi Yong-cheol and Cho Seong-ho of the Utopia Guild. Choi Yong-cheol specifically picks on people weaker than him, and Cho Seong-ho was the one who shoots his YouTube videos for him. Thanks to his extreme content, he had a few loyal subscribers that would always watch his videos. But after he crossed the line, he received a life sentence and was forgotten by most. He sighed. In his head, they're a complete excuse for a human being. Yong-cheol, level 100, rank B player, said that he's getting pissed. Seong-hee, level 75, rank C, approaches him. He did want to see his progress with his new artifacts, but the situation annoys him, especially that those punks aren't the opponents that he wanted to test it out on. Yong-cheol saw him get out of the car. He had his sword as he dared them on what they'll do next. Yong-cheol wanted to take his time. He told him that he's the security force in Playertown and a lot of people had been complaining about him. He stated that people mentioned that some fucker kept driving around in a shitty car. In short, those people are pissed with his shitty car in the area. He kicked Sang-hyun's car. Sang-hyun turned pale. Yong-cheol threatened him that if he doesn't want his car to go to waste, he should take his stuff and leave. They were starting to attract attention. People recognized Yong-cheol, but one guy noticed something. He recognized the man who was featured on the Player magazine. They remembered his name. At this point, Sang-hyun was checking the dent on his car. Yong-cheol asked Seong-ho if Sang-hyun was strong. Seong-ho had to do research on his phone. He remembered that it was the kid who went to the quest area with Miso, and there were rumors that he cleared a level 100 quest on his own. Yong-cheol doesn't believe that, since Sang-hyun looked weak to him. Seong-ho replied that Miso was with him, so there's no way she'd let a newbie take the glory. He thought of a title for their next video. It was, "Let's Teach the Newbie Kim Miso Carried a Lesson." He started filming. Yong-cheol told Sang-hyun that he will show him mercy. He invited him into training mode and to have a one-on-one sparring match. And if he wins, he wants him to leave the player town right away. But if Sang-hyun wins, he vows to stay away from him as much as possible. Sang-hyun agreed. Yong-cheol commented that he's a real man after all. But Sang-hyun demanded 500 million and Yong-cheol's wrist to the wager. He told him that if he's scared, then he should get lost. Yong-cheol was about to curse him, but Seong-ho called him. He got annoyed that he was disturbed, but Seong-ho needs to show him something. The chat was flooded with 500 mil. Yong-cheol muttered a curse. Sang-hyun asked him if he's in or if he's scared. Yong-cheol realized that if they went with it, the video won't be monetized since it contains violence and adult content. He took this chance to relieve some stress. They went to the Playertown Building C Plaza. The crowd gathered. Sang-yun activated his training mode. With that, the players had received a barrier effect. Yongchul wagered 500 million won and his wrists and assured Sang-yun that he keeps his promises. He advised him to get lost while he still can. The training mode has been completely set up so they could already start. Sang-yun took a deep breath. Yongchul told him that they're going to start and he'll be serious. But Sang-yun called his name. He was surprised that he was already attacked. Sang-yun told him that he doesn't play around either, and that even if he begs, he won't forgive him. It was broadcasted live. Miso couldn't believe that she saw him there. It made her worry about what was going on. She watched carefully. She recognized Yongchul of Utopia Guild. She had heard rumors about him, and he does whatever he wants because his uncle is Utopia's guild master. Her sister asked her if something was wrong. It was because she looked so serious. This woman is Shin Tairi, level 700, a rank S player. She saw the TV. She recognized Sang-yun, the player who Miso kept trying to recruit. She told her that his name is Sang-yun, and she's wondering why he's on some scum's live stream. Tairi could tell that his moves are good. Yongchul cursed out loud. He called him a cheating bastard and a liar. He created a fireball in his hand. He attacked with it. Sang-yun gripped his sword tightly to deflect it. Yongchul was surprised. Because Sang-yun had cut through the flames, it was followed by a loud explosion. Even Seong-ho was surprised with his ability. Sang-yun was relieved. Finally, ever since he regressed, his body moves the way he wants it to. 3 hours ago, he thanked the appraiser since it was because of her that they ended quickly. The appraiser got embarrassed and replied that it was them who did the hard work. Daik-young suggested that they go for a drink. It was his treat. Sang-hyun declined since he had somewhere to be. Daik-young's jaw dropped. He wondered if it was because he asked too much from him. Sang-hyun explained that he just planned to go somewhere else. He simply accepted that. He thought it was just him and the appraiser, but she told him that she had an important event to attend either. The artifacts were more exciting to Sang-hyun than the alcohol. She hurriedly left. At a quiet park. Sang-hyun stayed there. The system notified him that the absorption rate of the bronze rank equipment has been calculated to be 10%. The time that the artifact was used for will increase the absorption, so the final absorption rate is rated at 90%. The goddess of luck says it's all thanks to her that he was able to enjoy those blessings. He knew that in most cases, he would only be able to obtain 1/10 of the original stats. But now he learned that it makes a difference when people start using their equipment. He remembered that he had a question for her. He knew she was a popular constellation, so he asked if she knew a constellation named the Late Bloomer Model Student. She complained that he should only focus on her. She scolded him for paying attention to other constellations. He explained himself, and admitted that the constellation meant something to him. But he also understands if she feels upset about it. She told him to lift his head, and informed him that she will ask for information about the constellation, because she's generous. That made him happy. After that was settled, he decided to enjoy a meal by absorbing those artifacts. The system notified him that the mana synchronization of 5 artifacts had begun. The foods served were the top 5 favorite foods of men. He started drooling. The artifacts were used by an older guy, but even so, the food manifested were appealing to young men, and the artifacts have an absorption rate of 90%. It made him excited to see how much stronger he'll be after he cleaned his plates. He couldn't even imagine. In the current training mode, the title Face Off has been activated. He commented that the effects are lacking in strength, but even so, his stats had increased. Particularly his strength, which increased to +40, +70 stamina, +40 mana, +65 luck, and +29 defense. The comment section mocked Yongchul especially now that he's shaking. Sang-hyun noticed his movement. He set out flames towards Sang-hyun. Miso got worried, but Terry assured her that there's nothing to worry about. She knew he'd dodge it. Sang-hyun reminded Yongchul of their deal. He counterattacked, as he looked forward to his 500 million and the wrist. Seong-ho grinned because Sang-hyun fell for their trap. Sang-hyun stepped on something that covered his foot in a bright glow. Yongcheol smiled. He gave him a finger while telling him that he won. Force freezing has been applied to Sang-hyun. Ice covered his body. Tairi wondered if Yong Cheol has always been able to use magic other than pyromancy. She thinks that it will be effective. Miso laughed and told her to listen. She revealed that Sang-yun has access to status ailment removal. She told her to take a closer look at him, so she'll understand why she wanted to recruit him. But when she turned her attention back to the TV, the ice was empty. Yong Cheol was confused about where he went. He knew his skill had activated, but unless Sang-yun had status ailment removal skill, it would be impossible for him to escape. It made him question if the bastard is a newbie. He was caught off guard as Sang-yun jumped on his back and stabbed him. Though Sang-yun was surprised, a barrier has formed on Yong Cheol's shoulder, which made him say that he's lucky since the training mode had saved him. The training mode had mitigated any fatal amount of damage. Seong-ho got worried for his friend. The comment section went wild. One of them stated that Sang-hyun looked different from earlier. That caught Seong-ho's attention. He could tell that Sang-hyun had a different aura compared to before. It made him curious about what he did. Tairi said that it's a type of awakening skill. Miso asked more about it. She replied that it's either transcendence or the psychedelic skill. But seeing that he has black eyes, she guessed that it's closer to psychedelic. She knew that psychedelic causes extreme exhaustion when the person receives damage. She took it that he's confident that he can take care of his enemy without receiving any damage. Miso refused to believe that though she agreed that something was off about him. She also stated that he didn't use that skill when she was with him. Tairi asked her if she understands how valuable the skill is. She informed her that there are only two possibilities. Either he had no reason to use it when he was with her. Miso asked about the other possibility. She was silent. Then she revealed that it could be he had means to obtain rare skills like that within a short period of time. The appraiser was reviewing the files, and she noticed something bad. She found out that the artifact that Sang-yun had bought was something that needed to be tested for its hidden ability. One of its special effects is enhancing possessing a hidden skill, and the hidden skill was psychedelic. She wondered if there's really a chance of a hidden skill manifesting with such low odds. She stated that in order for him to be that lucky, he'd need to be selected by the goddess of luck or something. Psychedelic is a hidden skill that enhances awakening. The moment the skill is used, it instantly recovers max HP and enters an awakened state for the next 100 seconds. The user's mental and physical capabilities will go beyond the normal limits and reach an explosive state. During the awakened state, the user will have improved decision-making, cognitive, and motor skills. Once psychedelic's effects are over, the user will fall into an extreme state of exhaustion due to the incurred damage for the next 10 minutes. Sang-hyun asked what they should do about their bet. Yong Cheol was pinned on the ground. He got nervous when Sang-hyun suggested that they turn off the training mode. He cursed at him and told him to get lost as he tried to create ice on his hand. He admitted to himself that he let his guard down because he thought he was a newbie. He didn't expect him to be that strong. He got serious. To break free from Sang-hyun's grip, he made the ground explode, and that forced them both up. He created distance between them first. He realized that Sang-hyun was completely different from what Seong-ho said. If he knew that he was that strong, he never would have started the fight. He glared at Sang-geo, and Seong-ho couldn't meet his gaze. He realized that the guy was just making up bullshit. He got distracted until Sang-hyun grabbed his face and told him that they'll end it. His face was rubbed on the ground. Sang-hyun assured him that training mode should prevent any fatal damage made. He concedes, and promised to send 500 million to his account. Sang-hyun concluded that their wager was over and it was time for him to get his revenge. Yong Cheol had no idea what he was saying, and it made him angrier. He told him that everything started because of him. 3 days ago at the car center, he was informed that his car was fixed, but he had to throw it away soon. The thought made him feel bad. The mechanic explained to him that the car was so old that it wouldn't last much longer. He refused to believe that. The mechanic acknowledges that he's attached to it, but reminded him that he'll have to say his goodbyes soon. He told him that the car was glad that he was the owner. That made him teary-eyed. Even the mechanic cried beside him. It was like the car was telling him that whenever he rode it, it was happy, and that it wanted him to be happy, too. Sang-hyun raised his fist and told the little shit that it was his revenge for his car. Young Chol kept apologizing and told him to wait, but Sang-yun grabbed his face. Before Sang-yun could hit him, he accidentally popped on himself. The crowd was disgusted. Sang-yun's fist didn't even land on him, but he kept pooping. He made a mess of himself, and he wept as he apologized. The crowd complained that it smelled like shit. It made them wonder what Young Cheol had eaten. Seong-ho wondered what they should do now. He doesn't care about their channel, but he's more worried about messing with the wrong person. Out of the blue, someone approached him. It was the Utopia Guild Kangdong region manager, Moon Baek-yun. He told Seong-ho that they screwed up big time. Seong-ho apologized. Sang-yun checked himself if any turd got on him. Baek-yun finds the situation interesting. He heard that Sang-yun recently awakened his powers, yet he managed to defeat Choi Yong-cheol, who's experienced. He approached him. He explained that he's there to take care of the situation and handle any compensation. He asked if he had time. Sang-yun was cautious. He asked him who he was and who worked for. Baek-yun was put off with his arrogant attitude. Then he realized that it's not arrogance, but simply confidence, as if the guy had already gone through everything. He could see that he had experience that doesn't suit his level, and the abilities he possesses are no joke. Baek-yun bowed to him and politely introduced himself. He even apologized for the late introduction. He was willing to do whatever he could to scout him. He informed him that the Utopia Guild will take care of any damages that have been incurred. He was confident that he could take care of the damage, and he's willing to do that just to build a positive relationship with him. It was funny how Sang-yun nonchalant asked for 2 billion won and showed the guy his account number on the phone. It was timely that he asked, since he was just about to say that 500 million didn't feel enough, since he also had to include the mental trauma that he suffered. That left Baek-han dumbfounded. He asked if they can pay in installments, or he can just do anything he wants to that shitter Young Cheol. Later that day, at a certain house, the reporters had a lot of questions, and they were so loud on the other side of the door. They waited for him to finish his conversation with Miso. When he left the meeting room, he yelled that he had nothing to say. But he couldn't leave the front door since the reporters preyed on him. They even ask if he's in a relationship with Miso. He's getting annoyed that his dating life is being asked, too. He already has enough to worry about, so he put the thought of dating aside. He got excited when he arrived home, because he's about to pack his stuff. It was his preparation for the gate raid. Since the time has arrived, he had been busy the past week to get ready for it. But he was satisfied with the progress that he made. His strength had additional plus 23, plus 19 stamina, plus 5 dexterity, plus 11 mana, plus 13 defense. On top of that, Demon Bash leveled up too. With the effects of the With Overwhelming Power title, it should last for about 2.6 seconds, and with the delay effects, it will last over 5 seconds. Demon Bash, at level 2, hinders a target, either a monster or a human, for 2.4 seconds. The success rate and time of hindrance depend on the target's skill resistance level. Dual welding training also leveled up, which means that his adaptability with blades, excluding daggers and one-handed swords, are extremely high. He smiled as another notification came through. He checked all the results of his efforts. He had blade-wielding training, a passive skill for warriors. It was at level 1, and it makes his adaptability with daggers and one-handed swords extremely high. Next was full charging, an active movement skill. It helps him concentrate a large amount of energy and release it all at once, charging at a target in front of him. The damage dealt and the charge distance will increase drastically with the charge time. However, during time, all movement will be restricted. With all of that, he thinks that it was enough for the gate raid, but he realized that there was plenty of stuff that was lacking during the last battle. He wasn't able to perform like his past self. During the fight with the Wolf Lord, he had to gamble since he was limited in his combat patterns. And during the battle with Choi Yong-cheol, he was easily caught in a trap thanks to his lack of movement skill. He felt chills in his body as he thought that if those guys were just a bit stronger, he would have lost his life. He needed to improve, because if he continues that way, he'd be following the same path as his previous life, particularly the incident that happened in the second breakdown in 2040. He wanted to make sure that he's faced with a different future. He doesn't want to lose everything he has like last time. It made him motivated to become stronger, just the hero who saved him before. Suddenly, his phone rang. He answered it, and it was reporter Park Jong-min. He called him to check if he's still available for the interview that they agreed upon that day. He knew he's fucked. He confirmed it. But in all honesty, he completely forgot about it. The gate raid is at 7 p.m., and the interview is at 2 p.m., and it's already 1:45 on his phone. The reporters who camped outside his home were glad to see him come out, but they got nervous when they felt the ominous energy. He yelled at them to get out of the way. His psychedelic skills have been activated. His physical body has been enhanced, and his speed drastically increased. Jongmin checked the time on his phone. Someone came in, and the staff automatically welcomed this person. It was Sang-hyun. Jongmin called out to him. He already ordered coffee, so he happily invited him to take a seat, but he noticed something was off. He looked haggard and was out of breath. Jongmin asked if he was in a dungeon. He replied, "Not at all." Deep inside, he felt that coming there was harder than being in a dungeon. He apologized for being late. They settled down, and Jongmin started to get into business. He wanted to interview him about the recent events within the quest area. He noticed that he had been going through a lot. Sang-hyun replied that it was nothing big. Jongmin had to tell him that no matter what he thinks, it was a fact that he was still the center of attention for all players. He added that even though people claim that levels and experience mean nothing with the new ranking system, with his sudden appearance and low levels, they are starting to call him a super newbie. Sang-hyun humbly replied that it's nothing like that. Jongmin asked him if he's aware that countless guilds are interested in recruiting him. By that time, Sang-hyun had already received plenty of cold calls. He assumed that he wanted to hear more about the Eden Guild or some other guilds. Jongmin replied that he's talking about the guilds abroad. That blew Sang-hyun's mind away. He admitted that it was news to him, too. He shared that a total of 5 foreign guilds have officially requested the Korean Player Association to run an official identity check request. Most foreign guilds are usually known for scouting players at an early stage to gain an edge, and it's the first time that they have garnered interest for a newbie-level player like him. But he advised him to keep his guard up, because plenty of people had their eyes on him. At Chunui Station, back alleys, gate appearance. Sang-hyun was walking in the alley while a thought was in his mind. He was hoping to work as a one-man guild, but the foreign guild makes him curious. Seeing this great opportunity, it made him question why he had to suffer in the past. Eventually, he met up with Miso. She told him that they have some time until the gate appears. The woman behind her caught his attention. All 3 of them stood under the street light. Miso informed Sang-hyun that her sister kept saying that she wanted to meet him, so she brought her along so they could meet before they head to the gate. She introduced Terry to him. Then she suggested that they head to a nearby cafe. Terry watched him quietly. Then she shook his hand. Deep inside, Sang-hyun was thinking that he would have known her even if Miso hadn't introduced her. There is not a single player in the country that doesn't know her. She is also known by her alias, Shadow Assassin, and she's one of the greatest players of Korea. Her popularity spans even countries abroad. She's one of the reasons behind the influence that the Eden Guild currently has, and her mere existence is able to shake the guild rankings. Sang-hyun felt that he's in luck of meeting ranked players after he had regressed. Terry asked him for a favor. That came out of nowhere, so it's surprising for him. He asked how he could help her. She replied that it was nothing much. She just wanted the 2 of them to fight. Miso couldn't believe the favor that she's asking from a person that she just met. She argues that she already informed her while they were on their way. Miso couldn't remember anything. She told her that it was when she wanted to recruit Sang-hyun, and she replied that she'll go see if he's worthy. Miso argues that it doesn't count. She apologized to Sang-hyun for her sister's behavior. She explained that she likes to challenge people for fun. Sang-hyun replied that he doesn't mind, and that surprised her. He offered to get straight to it while grabbing his sword. He expressed that it's an honor to have the opportunity to fight against a top-ranked player. Tairi was pleased with his answer, so she confirmed that Miso had an eye for people. She apologized to him for being unprofessional all this time. She suggested trading about 5 moves or so, and he could just tell her when he's ready. Although he knew he didn't stand a chance, he still decided to take advantage of this opportunity to see how much he had grown and what things he had to improve. She only manifested her weapon, and yet she has a completely different aura surrounding her. He decided not to waste any more time. He told her that he's ready. He activated psychedelic as he planned to go all out from the start. Miso could no longer follow what's going on. Terry replied that she'll make the first move. They were surprised when she warped into nothingness. Sang-yoon was alarmed. He realized that he's an idiot. With his current physical abilities, he knew not to rely on his reaction time to anticipate her attacks. She attacked him with her daggers, and he tried to deflect it using his swords. Sang-yeon gave his all to predict everything. She was amused. She leapt away and told him that his moves are good. She was motivated to put more effort in their fight and was going to show that in the 4 moves that she has left. She moved so fast that she left a trail of light behind. In his head, he described her as a monster, especially when her speed increased more. He thought of a way. Just like what he did in his past life, he completely ignored his sense of sight and read her moves through instinct. He expects this time to be much more difficult. Miso was puzzled, that he closed his eyes even though he knew the gap between him and her sister. It made her think that he's crazy. She thinks that it's completely stupid of him. But our boy then sensed her and found the right time to deflect her attack. She praised his focus, since she didn't expect him to block the second strike, too. She told him that most swordsmen fail to reach that level of focus, because they would need experience to back it up. Sang-hyun's first thought was, she knows? She continued to express that it felt like she's facing a veteran player. Sang-hyun decided to keep quiet on that. She had 3 moves left, but before she attacked, Sang-hyun asked for a favor, too. She allowed it. Then he suggested that they skip 3 moves and finish it with her going all out. That caught her off guard. He admitted that he's being arrogant, but he feels that he'll never have a chance like that again. He requested for one last strike. In his head, if he doesn't experience what she's truly capable of, it will continue to haunt him during training. Miso told Taeri not to listen to her. She panicked when Taeri agreed to his request. She admitted that she can't give her 100% to it, especially when the training mode isn't on. Instead, she'll show him what she's capable of at full speed. Skills are much harder to control, so she can't just risk using it on people like that. He replied that it was more than enough. He thinks that if he could keep up with her at full speed, it's a success. He set his mindset to think of the fight as a real deal, and that if he fails, he'll die. She charged towards him. He was overwhelmed since he didn't even have the time to prepare. He took a mental note to always be ready, and rather than just swinging the blade, he attacked the space before she even gets to him. Taeri was surprised that she was almost hit. She immediately activated the shadow illusion. He was taken aback on what she did. Then she gently hit his face with the handle of her sword. She asked if he's okay. He replied that he's fine. But internally, he was under the impression that she's not going to use a skill. Sang-yeon complained that his head hurts. He wondered if his nose was broken. Taeri extended a hand to him. She admitted that she didn't mean to use a skill on him, and she did that out of reflex. She asked if he's okay. He accepted her hand. Then he told her that he'll be fine. He thanked her for taking him seriously. She replied that it was her pleasure. But she told him that next time. It would be great if they could have a serious conversation. He agreed to that any time. While they were having that casual conversation, Miso stared at their shaking hands. She pulled Taeri's arm and told her that it was time to start the raid. And she told her to write everything that had happened and submit a report. Taeri said goodbye to them and wished them luck on the raid. Miso told her to get home safely. Sang-yeon, whether he likes it or not, lost for the first time since he regressed. He knew that if Taeri went all out from the start, he wouldn't stand a chance. Although their meeting was unexpected, it gave him another goal that he needs to surpass now. Taeri stopped on her tracks, glanced and smiled at him. Sang-yeon felt that she's saying something like, he could try as much as he wanted. Later that day, they gathered at the Chunui station, unidentified gate number 727. Miso suggested that they do a brief introduction. A timid lady and a tall man said hello to them. Sang-hyun introduced himself and expressed that it was a pleasure to be in the presence of such great players. The man replied that they came there to see the Wonder Boy all over the news. He introduced himself as Park Taesok. He is a mage player that specializes in the Ignite skill. He is at level 120, rank A. Sang-hyun asked if Ignite is pyromancy. He replied that it was the same realm of magic as Yong Cheol. But He demonstrated his blue fire and told them that since he focused most of his player time conjuring flames, his flames are much stronger than Yongcheol. He added that he's only at blue flame stage and still has a long way to go. Sang-yoon replied that he's amazing as it is. He was thinking how he made the right decision to concentrate on one thing until he reached a certain level. The reason why he easily dealt with Yongcheol was because rather than focusing on one specific skill, he invested his time into a variety of different fields. Then, Miso introduced the woman. She was Kang Jo-hee, a space wielder. Basically, a mage that specializes in space connection skills. She was timid and shy. She is, at level 10, and an A-rank player. Since Taesok showed her powers, she also did the same. But they tried to stop her. But they failed. As a result, a strong wind blew. Miso scolded her. Sang-yoon wondered what that wind was because it was completely different from what a space wielder can do. A portal opened in front of him. Jo-hee closed the portal after that. She bowed to him while telling him that it was nice to meet him. Sang-yoon extended his hand to her. After meeting the team members, he realized that he was right in trusting Miso. She completed the perfect combination for a team. There was him, a swordsman at close range, Miso for long-distance combat, Taesok to cover any firepower that they might be missing, and Jo-hee to help them escape whenever required. Excluding the fact that they don't have a healer, it was a perfect team. And the most important part, the chemistry was amazing. He could tell that it isn't their first time working together. Things like that matter especially when it comes to surviving. Back then, he had experienced that too. A bittersweet expression was shown on his face upon remembering them. It made Miso ask if he's okay. She inquired if he got injured while he was fighting her sister. He replied that he's fine and was just thinking about something else. He decided to put his worries aside. He suggested that they enter the gate now, with a thought that he'd focus on the present rather than the past. They arrived at the other side of the gate, Frost Hell. It was a snowy place. He thanked Taesok, because if it wasn't for his buff, they would all be frozen solid. Taesok used Blessing of Flames, which increased resistance against cold. Miso expressed that the weather wasn't like that the last time they were there. Then she noticed that Sang-yeon had another weapon other than the long sword. She asked why he didn't use it last time. He replied that he got it recently since had a feeling that he might need it in case the battles were much more mobility-heavy. That made Miso ask if he's skilled with a variety of weapons since swordsmen usually focus on one thing. He replied that he put some effort into it. Deep inside, he's finding it hard to give an excuse. It was one disadvantage of his rare skill. Then Miso called Jo-hee to tell her to do Plan C because of the Cyclops. Jo-hee agreed to it. The Cyclops growled loudly. Then it attacked and smashed the ground. Miso and Sang-yeon went behind it. They appeared from the portal that Jo-hee made. Miso waited for Sang-yeon's reply. He told her to watch his back. The Cyclops noticed them. Sang-yeon didn't expect it to move. It made a loud noise. Miso called Taesuk. He replied that he's on it. She released her arrow while Sang-yeon charged ahead. The Cyclops saw it approaching its eyes. It was blinded right in time as Sang-yeon closed the distance. He hit it, causing it to groan loudly. Then blood splurts out from the cuts all over its body. Our boy called for Jo-hee. Jo-hee responded with her skill. The Cyclops sets its eyes on Sang-yeon. It was about to grab him. When its hand collided with the ground, debris flew everywhere. A sword was left near where its hand was. The Cyclops smiled, thinking that it got Sang-yeon. But to its surprise, Sang-yeon appeared behind it. The Cyclops was confused. Jo-hee and Taesok attacked again. Demon Bash Level 2 has been activated. Sang-yeon grinned. Then he cuts off its head. Jo-hee and Taesok were left dumbfounded. Sang-yeon landed safely on the ground. They asked him what he just did. They thought that a single strike wouldn't be enough to kill it. Sang-yeon apologized. They replied that he doesn't need to apologize. It's just that they were surprised. Miso pointed out that she had informed them before, and shared that she had the same reaction. She also believes that it won't be the last that he'll surprise them. She was certain that he hadn't shown them everything yet. He let out a nervous laugh. Deep inside, he could feel the pressure, and the way she said it makes him want to show his stuff. Putting that thought aside, Despite it being their first raid, he could tell that their teamwork was pretty good. He wondered if that was the difference in skill that experienced players possess. He felt good about it. More Cyclops arrived, so it was time for round 2. Eventually, they killed them all. Taisok's eyes sparkled as he tells Sang-yeon that he's amazing. He claims that he's the best swordsman he ever worked with. Sang-yeon thanked him. Miso was happy too. She thanked Sang-yeon for making Taisok happy, since Taisok hardly ever gets a chance to utilize his pyromancy skills to its full potential. So, he was happy that he was able to do so thanks to him. He realized that it must be the thing for mages. If they don't have a dependable swordsman, they have no choice but to resort to support skills. But the look of adoration that Taisok had was too much for him. Miso asked him what was the skill he used before. She told him that he always manages to surprise her. Earlier, there was a loud explosion in the forest. They finish off the Cyclops one after another. Then Miso noticed something. An armored demon ogre was running into them from the front. Taisok asked what they should do. She suggested focusing their firepower on it. First, they had to get away as far as they could from it, but she got confused when Sang-yeon called Jo-hee and asked her to open a portal that will lead him directly in front of the monster. Miso panics as she informs him that the monster specializes in defense. But she saw that he's getting ready for something, so she decided to trust him. She told Jo-hee to do as he said. She opened the portal. Sang-yeon activated full charging, where it concentrates a large amount of energy and releases it all at once, charging at a target in front of him. The damage dealt and the charging distance will increase drastically with the charge time. However, during this time, all movement will be restricted. He passes through the portal at full speed. The monster was surprised when he appeared. It was just about to growl, but our boy had already slashed it in half. When they saw him, their jaws dropped. They couldn't believe that it's really happening. Miso expressed that she hasn't seen a movement skill with that much power before. He replied that since he has a team that he could trust, he just thought of using it aggressively. Jo-hee told them to be quiet. She told them that they had arrived. They lay low on the ground as they take a look at the creature under the cliff. The middle boss, Cerberus of the Frost Hell, was asleep. It was a relief for them since they will still have time to plan out their move. Jo-hee suggested that she'll open a portal in advance since they don't have enough information about it. Taisok suggested that they start with him raining fire on it. Meanwhile, Sang-yeon was pleased that he finally found his punching bag. He activated the skill Age of the Night and Wolves. While the moon is up inside the dungeon, the user's health, recovery, and regeneration speed will increase 5-fold. Regardless of whether the moon is up or not, any dog or wolf-like monster will be permanently stunned when faced with the user in possession of the Blue Moonstone. When the moon is up, all dog and wolf-like monsters are unable to attack the user. Miso suggested that they go with Plan F. They got confused when Sang-yeon stood up, and he had this excited expression on his face. They knew that face, and it worried them. Taisok asked if he had a plan in mind. He told them that they can stay back and watch him. They requested him to explain, but he doesn't have enough time to explain all the details. In order for the effects of the Age of the Night and Wolves to be active, the moon needs to be in full vision. Even if the smallest of clouds were to cover the moon, the effects of it would be halved. He just left without saying anything. He felt sorry, though. When he landed on the ground, Cerberus noticed him. Sang-yeon moved on his own since asking for forgiveness is faster than asking for permission. The three heads growled. Miso told them to get ready to give him cover fire, but Jo-hee noticed something was off. The Cerberus didn't move. Miso watched it and agreed. It made her wonder if it was just staying on guard, but back then it tried to attack them the moment it saw them during their research. Cerberus growled. They noticed it move. Jo-hee told them that they need to help him, but Miso could tell that it doesn't look like it's trying to attack. She saw its tail wag, and it seemed like it was willing to obey him. The system notified that Cerberus of Frost Hell recognizes him as a higher-ranked being. It entered total obedience soon enough. Sang-yeon didn't expect that it would be that easy. He decided to end things quickly. The system congratulated him for defeating the middle boss. He admits that it felt wrong killing something that was willing to obey him. He obtained the C-rank title, Reduction. His chosen skill's cutoff will be cut in half. He used it on the recovery skill. Recovery's cooldown was reduced 30 seconds from 60 seconds. With it, he is able to undo all status ailments that are currently active on him. Miso told him to wait. He asked if there was something wrong. Then suddenly, a bright blue crystal appeared. He panics as he realizes that he never told them about his skill. Since he had always been a solo player, it never hit him to do that. He got worried that she might ask for ownership. He wished so hard that she wouldn't take it. But Miso told him that since he defeated it on his own, he can take the loot. He was about to say it was a relief, but he corrected himself immediately and just thanked her. He asked if she had spoken about it with the others. With their expressions, there was no need for it. They looked at him with adoration. He laughed nervously as he thanked them. He took a mental note to utilize his skills without getting caught. Unexpectedly, Miso told him that they will leave so he can do his thing. He was confused. Miso replied that whenever he gets an artifact, he always does something. He asked her if she knew. She admitted that she had known about it for a long time. It was right after they cleared the quest area. When she was about to leave, she wondered what he was doing there by himself, so she turned around. And that's where she learned his secret. He felt cornered, since a unique skill of a player is like their lifeline, and he just got exposed. He was about to say something when Miso cuts him off, saying that he's one of those players that has weird rituals. She knew that there are players like that once in a while. He was dumbfounded. She told him not to worry about them and just enjoy himself. She empathized that if she were in his shoes, she would want to hide a secret like that too. Johi asked her if Sang-yun really does that. Miso replied, "Yes, that's why they have to give him privacy." The look on Sang-yun's face was hilarious. There was a huge misunderstanding, but having his secret exposed would have been worse. He decided to go ahead and eat. Heart of Ice is a gold artifact and a support equipment. Its special effect is freezing. It adds +10 evasion and +10 defense. The extreme cold that imitates the cruel winter cold is said to be held within the heart, ready to freeze the world. Meanwhile, the whole place turned gloomy. Johi created the last portal. Miso praised her for her hard work. Sang-yun agreed that it's all thanks to Johi. She asked if it was really fine, because even if they collect all the dead ogre bodies from before, she doubts that the boss monster will really come and eat them. Sang-yun assured her that the boss will do anything for food. She asked him how he knew about it. He was speechless. Then he shifted the attention by requesting Taesuk to light a fire to lure the boss monster. Miso could definitely tell that he dodged the question. The fire was lit, and they waited in hiding. 20 minutes have passed, so they are expecting it to come any time now. Then suddenly they heard a monster growling. The boss monster had arrived. Everyone got ready to fight. It was the final boss, Grizzly Big Bear of the Cold. Miso watched from the edge of the cliff. She acknowledges that they have been able to do raids successfully thanks to Sang-yun. However, looking at Sang-yun in front of the large boss monster, and he looked exhausted, seemed like a really dangerous situation. A few minutes ago, Miso couldn't believe what he just said. She asked him what he meant when he said that he'll be a bait. He replied that there's no choice, since it was the fastest and safest way for her team to do the raid. He explained that most giant monsters have a similar characteristic that activates when their health reaches a certain point. They enter the so-called gluttony state. A monster that enters the gluttony state has its body strengthened and becomes significantly more violent. It takes on the trait of devouring everything around it. That's why they stacked up the ogre's corpses. He considered poisoning its food. That's why they have Johi stack up the ogre's corpses using her portals. And they prepared juniper wood, which acts as a strong sedative effect with its feed. But there's one problem. Lowering the health enough to activate gluttony, he told them that he'll create a comfortable situation for them to deal damage. He asked them to believe in him, but he realized that was bullshit. He was just one step away from going to the afterlife just now. It made him feel bad because he thought that he had grown already. He thought that he could take on this level of attacks by now, but it was stupidly strong. He questioned if his strength wasn't enough. He knew that if it continued, he might really die. He focused on dodging every attack from then on. Debris flew everywhere. He jumped high so he could evade its attack. He was up in the air when the boss monster glared at him. It had a fast reaction time. He now questioned if jumping was a bad idea because he's about to fall into its mouth. Miso released some arrows. That surprised the boss monster. He glanced at her. Miso told him it was time. The support from her made him smile. It was thanks to her that he's still alive. He prepared to counterattack. The bear saw him coming. He activated full charging and slashed the bear all around. The grizzly big bear had been inflicted with freezing for 1 second due to the effect of full charging. He was glad that it worked. The freezing came from the heart of ice, and he combined it with full charging. He was in doubt because of its status resistance, so he couldn't believe that it really worked. He targeted the bear's leg and stabbed it. The bear groaned loudly from the pain. He used the Demon Bash Level 2 skill. Miso called Taesok, and he replied that he already knew. He gathered his flame to bring out his most powerful attack. Before he released it, he warned Song-yun to dodge. Song-yun heard him. Taesok unleashed the skill called Blue Flame Flamingo. The bear lost his footing when it hit. The firepower exceeded Song-yun's expectations. He believed that they had succeeded in bringing its health down. The energy of the grizzly big bear eventually changed. It groaned loudly. Sang-hyun was happy that the damage was enough. The grizzly big bear has entered the gluttony state like they have planned. Miso saw his expression. The grizzly big bear proceeded to eat everything in its surroundings. Sang-hyun was caught off guard. He got overwhelmed when the grizzly big bear changed and looked so evil. He trusted Joey to do her turn, but he doubted if he could hold out. Taesok's jaw dropped upon seeing the bear. He commented that it looked like a different monster now. Miso asked about Joey. He replied that she's still getting ready. Joey continued to gather her energy. As she chanted her spell, Miso was worried that she'll not make it on time. Taesok told her that it shouldn't be their worry now, because what's important is whether Song-yun will last or not. Song-yun ran for his life. He panics since not only the raid could fail, but he could lose his life there. He wondered if she's still not ready. His eyes widened because the bear jumped towards him. He knew he couldn't dodge the attack. He decided to face it head-on and activated Psychedelic. Meanwhile, a large portal appeared in front of Jo-hee. She finished the preparations and started the warp. At this point, the bear was charging toward Sang-yun as he swung his sword. The portal appeared between them, and to Sang-yun's surprise, the bear disappeared. Jo-hee fell to her knees. Miso and Taesok rushed to her aid. She replied that she's fine and had just used too much mana. Meanwhile, the relief on Sang-yun's face was exceptional. If his attack didn't connect properly, he might have been eaten alive. The bear ate the corpses, and the system notified that it has entered a strong state of sedation due to the effect of suspicious juniper on the snowy mountain. Sang-yun watched it. He felt fine now since, in the end, they did it. Miso and Taesok cried of relief as they praised her. The bear made a low growl. Taesok, Miso, and Sang-yun stood in front of it. They slashed it, and it fell. The system notified them that they had defeated it. With that, they have cleared the unidentified gate. Miso thanked Sang-yun for everything. She felt sorry about relying on him so much. He replied that it was fine, and it was his idea anyway. The system notified him of his drastic increase in level because he had cleared the gate, but he admitted to himself that the dungeon was a bit too much. Eventually, Jo-hee showed up through a portal and praised everyone for their hard work. She apologized that she wasn't much help with finishing things there. Sang-hyun replied that she shouldn't be sorry. He thanked her for agreeing with his stupid last-minute plan. She responded that it was a great chance to understand the limits of her ability. Sang-hyun expressed that he's looking forward to having a chance to work with them again. He was really thankful for all of them as they all followed his reckless requests. But he also knew that he would have pushed them had they not come with him. In the gate raids that he did in the past, they are always met with a tragic end. Most of the gates with good rewards had a survival rate of 90%. Since most teams were composed of non-amateur members, the survival rate was pretty high. There was a time when he was badly injured, and a colleague helped him up. But when he glanced on his side, There lies the body of another colleague. The 10% chance of death always found its way to them. He knew it was just a coincidence that he wasn't at the receiving end. He learned that the job of being a hero is always done in the face of death. Although growing stronger is important, he has set another goal for this life. And that thought made him smile. And that would be to avoid any needless deaths. The time has come. They all anticipated the loot for their hard work. A bright orb burns in front of them. It was the final reward of the gate. It was considered as the first clear bonus. Upon reaching this stage, each of them will gain an appropriate reward. When he was about to reach the reward, the goddess of luck grabbed his hand. She urges him to watch as she shows her the truth behind her powers. It made him smile. Her statement made him excited to see what awaits him. The system notified him that he has a unique rank artifact. His eyes widened and his jaw dropped at the sight of the unique items before him. He knew then he'd made the right choice. Unique. Rank carries was clearly on a whole different level. The goddess of luck grinned as if she knew that more was coming. The system stated that thanks to the goddess of luck's authority, a hidden effect reserved for artifacts greater than unique rank has been unlocked. Sang-yun was reminded that it was one of the conditions of their contract. It was the goddess of luck's way of thanking him for his efforts. It made him like her even more, to the point that he's willing to do anything for her. After that, Sang-yun checked his surroundings and saw that everyone was busy with their rewards. So he decided to pick his own artifact. He didn't have to think twice. The form of his chosen artifact came to life. It's an artifact that has always been on his mind. It was the great sword of fighting spirit. It is a two-handed weapon in the form of a great sword, classified as a unique artifact. Its stats were plus 500, strength plus 500, agility plus 50, with a hidden effect called knockback bust. That great sword represented the fighting spirit of any great warrior, hiding not only great strength, but blessings of the wind. From the blessing of the wind given by the god of fighting spirit, the aura created by the blade will give the user a 10% increased recovery rate. As he expected, it has some crazy stats to suit its reputation as a unique artifact. He gripped it tightly and tries to swing it. He was shocked when it shattered the ground. The sword was too heavy for him. He questioned what happened to Lighten. He checked and saw that it was passively active with no cool time. Due to the effects of the Devour Artifacts skill, all skills lose their mana consumption effects. As a penalty, the effects of Lighten are halved. With that, all equipped artifacts will feel like 100 kilograms. He read it carefully, and when he read the weight, he couldn't help but feel annoyed and scammed. He didn't know that there was a condition like that. His loud voice caught Miso's attention. Then he saw everyone's faces. They were all happily holding the great rewards. Miso replied that they all got the artifacts that suits their class, all thanks to him. He replied that he didn't do anything. Miso insists that it was him, and shared that they had a conversation. They think that it's only appropriate to give him the carcass of the boss and drops like magic stones to him. He got flustered and replied that there's no need for that. Johi imposes that they should settle things, and it's the conclusion they came to when they calculated everything. They were surprised when he dropped his head and his hand covered his eyes. He was touched on how thoughtful his teammates are. The boss's carcass has an estimated price of 60 million. With everything combined, it would be around 150 million. Sang-yan hid his devious grin behind his hand. He wanted to laugh, but he stopped himself. After that, they exited the Frost Hell. Miso invited him to celebrate, but he replied that to do it next time. It was because he wanted to check how much everything is worth. They all went their own ways after saying goodbye. Then Miso remembered something. She asked if she could call him whenever she wanted. He wanted to reply, "Who do you think you are?" But he couldn't say it, so he just agreed to it. It made her feel good. With a flushed cheeks, she told him that she'll see him again soon. Her expression made Sang-yun's eyes widened. He never thought he'd see her make a face like that. Meanwhile, Taesuk and Johi were embarrassed because it felt like they were intruding on something. Sang-yun was thinking that it was sweet of her. It made him realize that it has been a while since he heard someone talk to him in such a manner. At Chunu Station Gate Back Alley, he absorbed the faded greatsword. With that, he had met the conditions for lighten, and the effect has been reactivated. As he expected, since the Fated Greatsword didn't have bonus stats, he didn't get much from absorbing it. But since the food was grilled mackerel kimbap, which was his favorite, he was happy. Now everything has been cleaned up. He proceeded in checking what he accomplished so far. His stat screen showed that he's at level 51 with titles Clever Hunter and 8 others. His constellation is Goddess of Luck with exclusive skill Devour artifacts. In all, he consumed 5 artifacts. His HP is at 1,398, MP is 183, and EXP is 408. His strength is at 250, and he has an additional 150. His stamina is at 109, 83 dexterity with additional plus 50, 71 mana, 169 luck, 30 evasion, 62 defense. Knockback Burst is a hidden skill which consumes 27 mana to push an opponent backward. The success rate and knockback distance depend on the opponent's skill resistance. He may use up to his full mana, 183 mana, to increase both the success rate and knockback distance. Cleaven Hunter is a C-rank title and has an effect that whenever he defeats a monster of a smaller or larger size, he restores 1 stamina. He was elated with these effects. He was surprised to learn that just by changing out 1 great sword, his strength stat shot up by that much. He also got 2 new titles and a new skill. He decided to boost his stat luck even further. The system notified him that his luck surpassed 200 and the range of critical hits has been recalibrated. His current critical range is 120% to 600%. A 600% max crit means that he can hit 6 times harder. He couldn't believe that he made it this far faster than he did in his past life. What took Daikyon years to reach level 50, he did it in 15 days. He was motivated to keep pushing on that phase. He was determined to catch up to Ghostblade Dugyunsu. The system suddenly notified him that the atmosphere around him is gradually turning eerie. All this happened while he was thinking of getting his revenge on Taeri soon. He suddenly felt a familiar pattern. The system notified him that new constellations seek his presence. The Lion King shows great interest in his swordsmanship. There was also the owner of a beautiful beard, who gave him high marks for his fighting spirit, and the Dark Hunter, who questions the presence of someone like him in the world. The Goddess of Luck told him that it's a pretty decent lineup. She added that the value of the Sangyun coin just skyrocketed. Those 3 constellations stood in front of him. He didn't expect the constellations to show up again quickly, but considering his growth rate is ridiculously fast, it made sense. But he knew the credit goes to the Goddess of Luck, since she's a social butterfly. He decided to confirm who showed up this time. There was the Lion King, the owner of a beautiful beard which was famous. They're real-world heroes who became constellations. He wondered if they saw his potential and came because of that, but they made him uncomfortable, because they are a chatterbox. The Lion King scolded him for glancing around nervously in front of his seniors, while the owner of Beautiful Beard exploded and told him that in his general days he would have cut off his head. He just laughed nervously and apologized. It's exactly why he hated hero constellations. He could already tell how hard they will push him if he forms a contract with them. But the Dark Hunter, it was even more dangerous. She's the last person he ever wanted to run into in his life. She's a bounty hunter who checks the Dimension Core for real-time updates, while roaming around to track down the players who have received excessive benefits due to system errors or committed severe rule violations. There were also cases like that in his past life. Except that, unlike unique cases like Goddess of Luck, she relentlessly hunted down high-ranking players who formed dual contracts to the point where some of them ended up broken and ruined. It was truly terrifying. He felt nervous since he didn't like any of the constellations. Forming a constellation contract is a huge deal. It can completely change his future as a player, so what he chooses really matters. However, at that moment, just having the Goddess of Luck is enough for him. But it also doesn't mean that he won't aim higher, and those are the mythical constellations. Only a handful of players in history have managed to form contracts with them. They're quite literally mythical beings. And currently, Sangyun didn't have a choice, so even if he doesn't want to gamble, he'd do it. He told everyone that he won't be choosing any of them. The Lion King was dumbfounded, saying that he has never been treated like that before. The owner of a beautiful beard says that he will consider trying a 3rd visit to recruit him because he thinks of him as his own brother. In Sang-hyun's mind, even if they come 3 more times, his answer won't change. Sang-hyun got startled. Before the Dark Hunter exited, she looked back and warns him that one day she will uncover his hidden secrets. Then she was gone. Sang-hyun said that it will be troublesome. Even though he really didn't want to deal with any of it, it couldn't be helped. He knew that he needed to be careful around constellations from then on. After that, he checked his phone and realized that the time had come. It was 11:25 p.m., and if he doesn't leave at once, he will be late. He's aware that the monsters that will emerge from the next rift are kobold packs. Like Cerberus earlier, they fall into the between dog and wolf category. So there's no way he'd miss out on a sweet jackpot like that. Having 3 runs a day, he knew it's not going to be easy. But he was hyped to do it until the mythical constellations can't help but take interest in him. Near Jamsil Station, in the Quest area, inside B 4-level Player Association, Rift Management Bureau. A woman answered the phone. She was surprised at what she heard. She couldn't believe it. A rift has appeared at exit 1 of Bupyeong Station. Someone ordered all available combatants to mobilize immediately. She confirmed the situation with the person on the other line and told her that they will request aid from nearby players, but the person informed her that someone was already fighting there. She couldn't believe it. The woman told her again that there's a player in there. She asked how that person even got there. The woman replied that she had no idea, but the person was fighting the monsters alone. She replied that fighting alone was way too dangerous. She advised them to evacuate immediately. But the woman on the line replied that the player doesn't look like he's in danger. This player was none other than Sang-hyun. The rift between reality was created 11 years ago after the first breakdown. Unlike dungeons or gates, it is an unpredictable disaster where monsters could cross over to their world. The rite had formed, and the kobolds passed through. However, Sang-hyun was already there. The situation wasn't unpredictable to him at all. 10 minutes ago, he exited the station and he was already expecting. When he turned to the side, he already saw it. A rift formed. He was aware that the rift had begun from there. There was a particular reason why he remembered it so clearly, because the rift was truly a tragedy. It caused countless civilian casualties. But since he's already there, he won't let it happen. He told himself that it was good that he regressed. Sang-hyun grew up in an orphanage since he was born, so he doesn't remember what his parents look like. Though because of that, he never really felt sad or depressed about it. But he knew how sad it is to lose someone. So he had never forgotten about those incidents. Someone arrived and asked him if he's okay. That experience gave Sang-hyun an objective aside from getting stronger. The kobolds growled loudly. Because of the age of dogs and wolves, the kobold warriors were intimidated. They froze and made a low growl. Sang-hyun could tell that his skill is working well, but it still wasn't showing the same results it did against Cerberus. He assumed that it was because of the moon. The moon's been completely covered, so the kobolds aren't fully submitting to him, but it makes it better for him. The kobold growled. Sang-hyun took this chance to test his new skills. Full charging was activated. In one swift move, he slashed the kobold. Those monsters were surprised when a vortex appeared, and it blasted them all away. Knockback Burst consumes 27 mana to push an opponent backward. The success rate and knockback distance depend on the opponent's skill resistance. He can use up to his full mana to increase both the success rate and knockback distance. The kobolds were pushed backwards. Every single one of them were caught up in it. Sang-hyun didn't expect that knockback affects quite a large area, and with full charging it was quite damaging too. It was enough for his AoE attack, plus his luck stats increase his critical hit range too. Critical range is at 120% to 600%, but seeing that those kobolds didn't die in one blow, it wasn't much of a lethal strike, so he attacked again with the intention of causing maximum damage. While he was fighting, a car rushed to the scene. 2 men arrived. The civilians in hiding noticed them. They introduced themselves as from the Player Association, and they looked for the caller. This man is Lee Hyun, level 110 player, rank B+. The woman who called pointed out where the monsters were. While he was talking to her, his colleague caught his attention. The man named Lee Jung, level 90 player, rank B, suggested that he check out the situation first. They were shocked at what they saw. A large kobold attacked Sang-yun. Those men took out their weapons since they assumed that it was a kobold rift. When they were about to attack, Sang-yun yelled at them not to come closer, because he planned to take it down himself. Face Off has been activated. There are no allies within 5 million radius of the target, which makes his abilities increase by 20%. Then, Sang-yun activated Psychedelic, which strengthens his body and makes him faster. The large kobold raised its weapon. Sang-yun was thrilled to try a knockback burst combined with all his skills. He's also curious what will happen to him. With a single strike, the kobold was blasted away. Its eyes widened when it flew up high. It hit the edges of the rift and got electrocuted. After it was fried, it fell on the ground. The two players were dumbfounded at what they witnessed. They knew it was Sang-yun. Sang-yun replied yes and asked if they are from the player association. He apologized for treating them that way earlier. They replied that it was fine, because it was thanks to him that there were no casualties. He replied that it's fine since he was just passing by from there. Hyun guessed that Sang-hyun would be getting in. He asked how they knew. Hyun replied that he heard that it's what most upper-level players do, and he wanted to come with him. Young didn't expect that from Hyun. Hyun promised Sang-yun that they wouldn't get in his way. They just wanted to see him hunt. Sang-yun smiled and told them to do as they wish. But deep inside, he finds these newbies adorable. And that made him sound like an old man. They arrived at Bopyeong Station Fisher inside midpoint. Sang-yun slashed the monsters that were in his way. Jung and Hyun were out of breath trying to catch up to him. Jung commented on how fast he was. Hyun told Jung not to focus on things like level and just keep running. He asked him if he didn't notice it based on the battles that happened outside of the fissure, that Sang-yun was gifted with an amazing battle sense or something else, and they will keep watching to learn from him. Jung argues that there's something wrong with the amount of health he still has after that battle. He couldn't answer because during his life as a player, health was something that he had always been confident about. But during the last battle, it was hard to handle. 30 minutes ago at Bopyeong Station Fisher inside the entrance. They were surprised at what they saw. The whole area was filled with monsters waiting for them. One of the kobold archers growled. Sang-hyun immediately told them to get behind him. He knew that it would happen. That's why he brought a corpse with him to act as a meat shield. The kobolds fired their arrows, while Sang-hyun and the other two hid behind their meat shield. Jung was spooked when he almost got hit. Sang-hyun was starting to think that bringing them was a mistake. He can't make any progress while trying to protect them. He bit his lip and told himself to stop acting weak. He forced himself to make it through situations like that because it's the only way he's going to be a high ranker. Another arrow was fired, but to their surprise, the kobold archer was counterattacked with a headshot. The kobolds got distracted. Sang-hyun took the chance to attack and told them that they should have kept their eyes on him. In a single strike, he severed several heads all at once. He safely landed on the ground and announced that they made it to the second floor. But to his surprise, another kobold attacked. That pushed him backwards. That caught him off guard, so he was glad he was able to react on time. Had he let his guard down, he'll be in pieces by now. That kobold is called a kobold champion. No one would have guessed that such a strong monster would be waiting on the second floor. It let out a low growl, which made Sang-hyun alarmed, because it was charging again. He thought of stopping its attack with knockback burst, but he couldn't risk his physical body on an uncertain gamble like that, so he had to reduce the total damages incurred while stopping his attack from connecting. His sword touched the shield. Not only that, but surprisingly, it pierced through it and severed the head of the kobold champion. He didn't expect that kind of damage. Not only was it enough to stop the shield, it even managed to defeat the infamously high defensive kobold champion that easily. He didn't think he'd managed to reach the necessary stats yet, so it led him to think that it was the pure strength of the great sword of fighting spirit. The kobolds were confused when the kobold champion's head rolled. Realizing the power of his sword, he grinned devilishly as he set his eyes on the other kobolds. The loud roar caught Jung and Hyun's attention. After a while, the chopped bodies scattered on the second floor. An artifact appeared. It was the shoes of rapid movement. It is a pair of boots that contains the urge of an assassin who wants to be fast. It contains a blessing from the Earth Spirit, which allows the user to be 3 times faster on unworked grounds. In all other situations, the user will gain speed 2 times faster than normal. Sang-hyun wore it while expressing that it came at the right time. Kobolds are more possessive than goblins, so they usually carry artifacts. The shoes fit him well. He was glad that it fit him perfectly. Though it was funny, he wished not to contract any athlete's foot, but with it, the raid should be much easier. And on top of that, Jung and Hyun were also able to hold their ground. They finished off the kobolds at the first level. Sang-hyun admitted that they are much better in fighting than he expected, which led him to think that the raid was going to be much easier than expected. With his 5 silver rank, 4 gold, and 1 platinum artifacts, all of it combined are worth more than 150 million. On top of that, defeating the kobold herd along the way filled his health back up. He liked the effects of his new title, Clever Hunter, which allows him to restore 1 stamina for every monster that he defeats. Suddenly, he stopped on his tracks. He felt a disgusting aura. He entered the Baipyeong Fisher Central Room, King's Treasure. He was confused when he saw something sparkled in front of him. There was a mountain of treasure in front of him. He felt bad about saying it, but he thought of just grabbing everything and retiring after. He was blinded with the treasures that he could just forget about growth and goals and just do whatever he wants with those treasures. Unbeknownst to him, someone was lurking in the shadows. Someone fired a crossbow. It made the treasure scatter. Sang-hyun evaded that sneak attack and immediately counterattacked. The kobold growled. Sang-hyun expressed that he's getting tired of this same pattern. When he tried to slash it away, the kobold jumped. He didn't expect that it could dodge at that range. He sensed that it was like the kobold lured him in on purpose. This kobold is the final boss, the Emperor Kobold King. It let out a small laugh, and while it was falling, it aimed its crossbow at him. Sang-hyun got alarmed. The crossbow was fired. Sang-hyun was forced to use full charging to evade it. He realized how dangerous it was. If he didn't dodge it with full charging, it would have pierced straight through his body. He landed on the ground. He had just learned how cunning the bastard was. It grabbed an arrow from its back. Sang-hyun finds it annoying. Hyun and Jung rushed to get inside. From the looks of it, they could tell that Sang-hyun started already. They apologized for coming late. They were spooked when they saw the final monster. Due to the Kobold King's King Gaze, status ailment overwhelm has occurred. They couldn't believe that boss. They couldn't move their body because of it. But our boy Sang-hyun charged at it. He pointed out how it dared to look away while they're fighting. His skill recovery level 1 has been activated, and due to recovery, status ailment overwhelm has been cured. The kobold saw him coming. It used its crossbow to deflect this attack, but still, it was injured. Due to the Kobold King's skill resistance, Demon Bash didn't activate, although Sang-hyun created an opportunity through recovery. Because of the stat difference, stun couldn't go through. Regardless, the overwhelm earlier was deactivated. He realized that if it causes that kind of response to 2 level 100 players, then it seems to be a lot stronger than the Goblin Lord he hunted before. He didn't understand it before. But this time, he'll definitely get his hands on it. He got hyped to attack. The Kobold King took out several arrows at once. That surprised him. The Kobold King used indiscriminate barrage and fired arrows on him. He was amused at that bastard. After that attack, the Kobold King stepped back and observed for a bit. Sang-hyun could tell that it's smart, unlike the other monsters that he met so far, but the infinite arrows were crazy. It figured out that he should keep his distance from full charging, and it was trying to turn it into a war of attrition. He also knew that the bastard's overwhelm has a shorter cooldown than his recovery. And if the Kobold King noticed that, then Sang-hyun's life was at risk without being able to do anything because of overwhelm. So he absolutely can't let it turn into a war of attrition. He thought that if he just had a way to deal with the damage from range, it would have been easier. But he thought of something and found his answer. Jung asked Hyun if he's all right. Hyun replied yes, and expressed that he had never been afflicted with that kind of status condition before, so he was taken aback. They watched the fight in front of them. Jung commented that it's surprising how Sang-hyun is holding his ground. It made them wonder if he has healing abilities. Hyun replied that it wasn't impossible for him to have 1 or 2 of them, but deep inside, he couldn't shake his anxiety. Then he saw it. The arrows are guiding Sang-hyun deeper. He regretted not noticing earlier. Instantly, he informed Sang Yun that it was a trap. Meanwhile, Sang Yun was taunting the Kobold King if it was done shooting. He landed on the treasures and sank. The Kobold King grinned, and it aimed the crossbow at him and released an attack. Sang Yun saw it coming, but he couldn't move, so it hit him in his torso. Sang Yun was about to fall. It made the Kobold King grin, but it was surprised when Sang Yun called it a dumbass. He told it that it's not the only one with tricks. The system informed Sang Yun that due to the effect of sacrifice, the incoming attack was nullified, and his HP has been restored. He told the Kobold King that it should have noticed when he was taking his attacks without fighting back. Then, it was his turn. He used psychedelic and charges forward. He combined his skill with knockback burst. The Kobold King roared loudly. Hyun and Jung's jaw dropped when they saw that the gold coins were shot like shotgun shells. It made Jung wonder what kind of knockback was that. Hyug replied that it isn't what's important. He had seen countless players until then, but he never saw a player with combat sense that high before. The Kobold King bled, but it was still standing. Sang Yun approaches it. He called him a tenacious bastard. It made him grin as he got into position to fight. The Kobold King could sense his doom from that incoming attack. Its sword broke into pieces. Then Sang Yun targeted its head next. It roared loudly before its blood splurts everywhere. Then the system notified Sang Yun that he had defeated the Kobold King. The Kobold King's head fell on the ground. The system informed Sang Yun that he leveled up tremendously. He had also obtained a C-rank title, Before the Drink Goes Cold. It is a title made from an old memory by the owner of a beautiful beard. After entering a dungeon, all players will gain an Overwhelm immunity status for a 2-hour period. The owner of a beautiful beard brags that in his prime, he used to cut down enemies before his drink went cold. Sang Yun expressed that it's his first time seeing a constellation title like that. And finally, he could get his hands on Overwhelm. The loots from the Kobold King are Talisman of Despair, a platinum artifact which brings Overwhelm. The screams of despair of the Icatus Kobold tribe are sealed within. Enemies that are exposed to those screams will be consumed and lose any will to fight. There's also the Boots of Evasion, a gold artifact, wherein it gives a special effect called Back Step. Those boots specialize in quick evasion. They are built more for moving backwards, not forward. For opponents who are not careful, it may act as a good opportunity. Next was the Necklace of Searching, a gold artifact, which brings a special effect called Search. It is a necklace made specially for the Kobold King, who needed to determine if there were any nearby opposition forces. The necklace allows the user to mark any enemies located within 100-meter radius with a red mark. Sang Yun could already tell that those items are going to be useful. He decided to take it with him and eat them when he gets the chance, because currently those two are looking at him. They called out to him. He asked what was wrong. They ran to him while yelling that they needed to get out, because the rift had started to close. He sighed because that got him worried for a second, but it was natural that the rift would close once it had been cleared. He couldn't understand why those two were overreacting. But then, he realized it. He looked at the treasures in front of him and wondered what will happen to all of those. He couldn't leave those behind, so those two had to drag him out. At Bayupyeong Station outside the rift, a silhouette of people coming out was seen. The crowd were glad to see them back, but they got confused because Sang Yun looked so sad. They wondered what was wrong. Sang Yun was confused when a mic was shoved on his face. It was Jung Min, and the filming crew was behind him. He told Sang Yun that he's the hero who saved the Bayupyeong Station and asked him for his message. Sang Yun just let out a nervous laugh. Meanwhile, at Player Town building basement, Rank 1 training room, a woman summoned 3 Rank B golems. She is a player from the Korea Player Association, and her name is Cho Lee-hyun. She is at level 120, a mage, summoner type, at rank B+. She had a mock battle with Terry. Terry watched the golems and swiftly chopped it up, making the rocks shatter. The golem was caught off guard. She was ready to charge again. She gripped her dagger and slashed the remaining golems. Those golems shattered into pieces and fell on the ground. Lee-hyun was surprised. For Terry, they were too slow. She accepted that it's the limit of a mock battle. She thanked her for everything. She wanted that mock battle so she wouldn't forget the sensation she felt that day. She wants to fight Sang-hyun again, so she regrets not asking for his contact information. She would have gotten it had Miso not interrupted them. The news caught her attention. It was reported that the rift appeared, and a nearby player managed to clear the rift on his own, and they got to interview that player. She was surprised at what she saw. It was Sang-hyun. The reporter commented that it was amazing how he manages to stay humble. Tairi was pleased since she never thought she'd see him that way again. Jongmin interviewed Sang-hyun on how his opponent was, since the Player Association estimated it to be level 150. He was underleveled compared to it, so they assumed it was difficult to defeat it on his own. He replied, that level is important to consider, but he doesn't believe that it's a deciding factor on who will win and lose. Tairi agrees with him, and based on how he responded, she could tell that he's well aware of his own capabilities. She noticed some maturity in him, as if he had gone through a lot as a player. It made her curious about who her master is. She knew of a possibility a combat lord constellation would approach him, or maybe Sang-hyun had contracted a god, like her. The next day at Sang-hyun's house, the artifacts were laid in front of him. He entered the gap of consciousness. With the obtained artifacts, he'll have the skills Overwhelm, Search, and Backstep. All of them are useful skills, and he thinks it's because of his luck stats. He was happy to keep growing just as he planned. Once the Age of Players began, most warriors had this kind of image attached to them. Strength is everything for warriors, and they weren't able to move away from that stereotype. With the appearance of new and stronger monsters, warriors who focused only on strength started walking down a path of self-destruction. When warriors start to lose hope, that's when it happens. The appearance of Sword Demon, Du Gyeong-soo, it changed the entire paradigm for monsters. He got rid of the armor in exchange for extra dexterity and supported his lack of defense with improved evasiveness. Rather than pure strength, he focused on skills that had high utility. In other words, he was able to do everything in any situation. He was considered an all-rounder warrior because he created that style. Although Sang-hyun never followed that path since he was too stubborn, he vowed this time to be different. The artifacts were ready to be absorbed. It became mushroom soup from a fresh kobold forest and black pepper steak from an intense kobold plains. It made him drool. He thinks that it's something that the kobold king would have eaten. He thought it would prioritize efficiency, so he didn't expect it to know more about food. But he was puzzled when there were only 2 dishes. An ominous-looking dish then appeared. It was seasoned larva from a fresh kobold swamp. It made him take back what he said earlier. The next day, in front of Sang-hyun's house, people had gathered. The media yelled at the guards that they received permission. Sang-hyun watches them argue from his window. He was hoping to get some fresh air, but all of that made him nauseous. The bug dish was too much for him, so he decided to stay home and rest. He had no idea what to do then because he didn't have any plans. He decided to stay home and rest since he's still tired from yesterday. Suddenly, his phone rang. He answered it. It was Kim Ji-hae from the player management department. He remembered her, then he asked why she's calling. She replied that they wanted to give him a plaque for clearing the rift. First, he was called a hero, and now he's being given a plaque, and it was a bit too much for him, especially since compared to the danger that will threaten all players in the near future. He's aware that the rift that he had stopped was just the tip of the iceberg, and he knew he had a long way to go. He chose not to accept the offer. Ji-hae didn't expect that. She requested him to pick up his dungeon priority card from them instead. It was related to the Silent Ground dungeon. He asked if it was approved. Ji-hae informed him that it was. Thanks to his recent accomplishments, it wasn't too difficult getting approval from above. Silent Ground is a dungeon where all named monsters use silence against their enemies. Also, in his previous life, he had a colleague who kept looking at the picture of his younger sister. The blonde, long-haired man replied that he had a habit of looking at the picture when everything was over, because it has been 10 years since their sister left them. Taehyun inquired what was the last dungeon she went to clear. The man replied that it was the Silent Ground. Since his sister mostly relied on skills, it was over before she had a chance to do something. It would have been simple for someone who had stats like him, but not for his sister. He uttered that if only he could go back in the past. When Sang-yoon remembered that, he got fired up. He had to do something in that dungeon, so he told Ji-hae to get it ready. A fancy car drove by. Sang-hyun was behind the wheel. He loved his modern car, though he still felt it was a bit crazy to own one. Ideally, he wanted to spend money only on artifacts. But last week, at Bupyeong Station during the Rift incident, he learned his lesson. People kept staring at him. He liked attention, but not that kind. Because of that, he swore never to take public transportation again. Suddenly, his phone rang. It was Kim Ji-hae from the Player Association. He answered, and Ji-hae asked if he would be joining the Silent Ground raid since it was the first day. He said he was already on his way. Ji-hae then told him that when he arrived, another staff member would guide him. That made Sang-hyun realize how fast time had passed. While checking his results so far, he noticed how focused he'd been on training. It had already been a week since he returned from the Rift. He was eager to test out his new skill. Then he noticed something unusual. There was traffic. At that hour, there shouldn't have been any. He had even planned his trip to avoid rush hour. His face soured when he realized it would take a while to clear up. He wondered if maybe another rift had appeared. Then his eyes widened. He saw a man being interviewed near a rift. As he looked closer, he realized that it was Do Kyung-soo. Dungeon number 21 appeared at the Yoido crossing. Fans on the roadside cheered loudly for Kyung-soo. The female reporter noted how popular he always was and asked how it felt to be loved by so many fans. With a calm, almost indifferent look, he simply said it was an honor. The reporter frowned at his half-hearted response. In her mind, popularity wasn't an excuse for laziness. She pressed further, asking about his raid strategy. He answered bluntly, it was always the same. Cut down monsters. That was all. His reply caught her off guard, but strangely, she found it charming. His blunt honesty had its own appeal. The cameraman reminded her to stay focused. Then they noticed Sang-yoon peeking out from his car window. Some people in the crowd wondered if Sang-yoon had come to spy on Kyung-soo. He realized too late that he had been staring without thinking and ended up drawing attention. To make it worse, his face was already known. Someone in the crowd called it a special event, like a meeting between a god and a human. They even described Sang-hyun as a challenger to the throne of Ghostblade. A man leaned over and whispered to Kyung-soo, telling him that Sang-hyun was the player who had recently cleared a rift alone. He added that rumors said Sang-hyun used a sword style similar to Kyung-soo's. Kyung-soo smirked and said he already knew who he was. The reporter then turned to Sang-hyun, asking why he had come all the way there. They asked if he was challenging Kyung-soo. He quickly denied it. Then they noticed his car and questioned why he had changed it, even asking how much it cost. Sang-hyun felt uneasy. This wasn't the kind of attention he wanted, especially not from Kyung-soo. As he thought about how to handle the situation, he noticed Kyung-soo already staring at him and smiling. That smile threw him off. Was Kyung-soo looking down on him? The reporter pressed again, asking if this was a full challenge or just a one-time thing. Sang-hyun didn't understand what the grin meant, but to him it felt like luck to witness it firsthand. Seeing Kyung-soo like that made him realize how far he still had to go. Kyung-soo told the man beside him that it was time to leave. In his mind, he reflected that he had met many ambitious players, but Sang-hyun felt different. Sang-hyun also realized Kyung-soo wasn't looking at him with admiration, but as someone he needed to surpass. Kyung-soo remembered his name and looked forward to meeting him again. At dungeon number 66, codename Silent Ground. At last, Sang-hyun arrived at the dungeon. He thought about Kyung-soo's presence, how even while standing still he showed no openings. It made him realize that the higher the target, the greater the thrill of chasing it. He felt fired up to catch up to him at full speed. Suddenly, a woman's scream caught his attention. She shouted at someone nearby, making Sang-hyun glance over in their direction. She complained that they were supposed to raid Silent Ground that day. She demanded to know why it was suddenly Sang-hyun's turn. Sang-hyun walked over and asked if something was wrong. The staff looked shocked to see him, while the angry woman thought his timing couldn't have been worse. She snapped at him, saying that just because he was a top-ranked player didn't mean he could do whatever he wanted. She scolded him, saying that even among players, there should be some basic decency. Sang-hyun felt relieved to confirm that he hadn't gotten the date wrong. He had doubted his memory and worried he might have been mistaken, but then he remembered. This was the day his friend lost his younger sister at Silent Ground. And that furious woman was her. Still, he never imagined she'd be so outspoken. Her personality was nothing like her quiet brother's. Sang-hyun figured it must have been tough for his friend growing up with such a sibling. Even so, he knew he couldn't hold back now. He looked her straight in the eye and replied, "So?" He chose to come off strong. He told her that no matter how unfair she thought it was, she had no right to speak to him like that. He explained that he was here according to the schedule set by the association. So what exactly was the problem? With that, he turned and headed toward the dungeon. The woman shouted furiously for him to stop. Others had to hold her back as she struggled and screamed. She threatened him, saying she knew who he was, and told him to watch his back. Sang-yun sighed, wishing he had just taken the day off instead of dealing with his headache. At the entrance to Silent Ground, he finally stepped inside. The stench of rot greeted him immediately, just as expected from a dungeon full of monsters. Suddenly, the ground cracked open beneath him. A hand shot out from where he was standing, followed by the rest of the monster's body. Its head was nothing but a wide, gaping mouth. Every monster in this dungeon was undead. It clutched his leg with both hands. A system message appeared. You have been inflicted with the status effect Silence by the ghoul's attack. Skills disabled for 0 seconds. He was stunned. Just a touch was enough to trigger Silence. Quickly, he drew the sword from his back and drove it through the monster. But more creatures immediately crawled out of the ground, rushing him all at once. Sang-yun knew he couldn't afford to be hit, and he had to conserve his skills. That meant this battle would come down to fundamentals, and fundamentals were exactly what he trusted most. At the Korea Player Association's Scout Team 4 Strategy Meeting Room. The next player under discussion was introduced. It was Shin Sang-hyun. Someone asked if this was the notorious rookie often compared to Gyeong-soo. Another person reminded them that just a month ago, Sang-hyun had only been a porter before his abilities awakened. The large man at the table finally spoke. He already knew of Sang-hyun, Lee Jong, and Lee Hyun had praised him non-stop. This man was An Ik-hyun, the team leader of Scout Team 4. The man with glasses sitting to his left confirmed the information. He explained that Sang-hyun had recently gained public attention. Ik-hyun admitted that Sang-hyun's growth rate was unmatched among players, but he doubted if Sang-hyun should be considered truly special. Compared to names like Miso, Terry, and Gyeong-soo, he wasn't convinced. The man with glasses, Shin Min-jae, the deputy team leader, agreed. He said that while Sang-hyun's solo handling of the recent rift deserved recognition, they couldn't accurately judge how dangerous the situation really was. Because of that, they should be cautious when assessing his achievements. He even suggested that Sang-hyun might just be skilled at manipulating the media. Someone immediately objected. Min-jae's temper flared. Everyone in the room grew tense. It was the 100th time Gahi had interrupted him. She always cut him off before he could finish his thoughts. Min-jae snapped and told her to be quiet, but Ik-hyun asked if she had something to add. She stood up, apologized for interrupting, and said yes. Gahi revealed that she had been tracking Sang-hyun personally. As Scout Team 4's strategy scout, she explained that she had been collecting data on him over the past few days. Though it would take time to go through everything, she insisted it was worth it. According to her, this was the only way they would understand that Sang-hyun was no ordinary player. She pulled up a chart of a typical player's growth curve, setting the level cap at 50, assuming that's where Sang-hyun had reached. Then she switched the screen to show Sang-hyun's growth data. Normally, a level 50 player's graph was low, with only 2 projected skills and no projected titles. Sang-hyun's graph, however, reached the top. 11 projected skills and 7 projected titles. The others were stunned. They said it was impossible. Min-jae challenged her, asking if she had lost her ability to evaluate players objectively. He reminded her not to forget her role as a scout. The others admitted that the number of skills might be believable, but the number of titles was hard to accept. At that rate, she was suggesting Sang-hyun match the growth of the sword demon, Do Gyeong-soo. Gahi firmly replied that her conclusion came from objective data. There was no denying it. She added that she had spoken with all of Sang-hyun's former dungeon teammates and asked if he had shown any unusual traits. One of them, Dae-kyung, admitted that 2 things stood out as odd. Gahi told him to focus on Sang-hyun's skills, battle sense, and presence in combat. Dae-kyung replied that Sang-hyun's skills were extraordinary. He had never seen anyone use stun like that before. Still, he admitted that if that was all, it wouldn't be enough to call him truly special. He stated the reason why he's special was Sang-hyun's natural combat sense. Gahi then asked for their opinions on Sang-hyun's combat instincts. Jo-hee and Tae-sok both responded passionately, saying his basic training was on another level. Gahi pressed further, asking if they meant he was simply impressive compared to players of similar rank. Jo-hee shook her head. If that were the case, she said, they wouldn't even be here talking about him. Tae-sok agreed. Though it was difficult to put into words, he explained that Sang-hyun stood out because of how well-trained he seemed. To him, it was as if Sang-hyun fought like a seasoned combat veteran with years of real battlefield experience. Ga-hee asked him to explain in detail. Tae-sok said it felt like Sang-hyun already knew what was going to happen. His ability to predict his opponent's next move was uncanny. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Sang-hyun was locked in battle with several undead. Back in the meeting, Tae-sok admitted that most players, no matter how good, reveal small weaknesses in their movements. Ga-hee nodded in agreement. Unless someone had years of experience, openings were bound to show. But Tae-sok insisted Sang-hyun was different. His body seemed to move on its own, reacting instinctively before his mind could even decide. At that same moment, Sang-hyun dodged the snapping jaws of an undead with flawless timing. Ga-hee summed up Tae-sok's explanation. Sang-hyun had an incredibly sharp sense for combat. Tae-sok confirmed it, saying it was the perfect description. No matter the situation he was caught in, Sang-hyun always had a solution ready. Right then, Sang-hyun closed the distance to an undead and cut it down with a skillful strike. Back in the meeting room, Ga-hee concluded that what set Sang-hyun apart was an instinct close to foresight. She added that his battle sense rivaled most A+ ranked players. If that ability was factored into their analysis, she argued, Sang-hyun had the qualifications to be considered an S-rank player. Meanwhile, in the dungeon, Sang-hyun let out a heavy sigh. He muttered in frustration, "There were just too many damn monsters." Back in the meeting room, Min-jae was in disbelief. He pressed Ga-hee, asking if she truly understood what it meant for someone to be considered S-rank. Ga-hee calmly replied that she did. Min-jae then pushed further. Was she really suggesting that Sang-hyun somehow predicted rifts would open and earn titles through that? He scoffed and sarcastically added that she might as well claim Sang-hyun had gone back in time and regressed. That caught her attention. She admitted it was an interesting theory, which only made Min-jae angrier. Ik-hyun finally told them both to be quiet. He acknowledged Ga-hee's point, that Sang-hyun wasn't just an ordinary player. He then assigned her to continue watching him closely. Min-jae tried to object, but Ik-hyun made it clear that Ga-hee would handle this alone. Ga-hee happily agreed, saying she could do her best. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Sang-hyun looked sickened by the stench. He already hated the smell of monster blood, but the foul odor of ghouls was even worse. To make things worse, they appeared out of nowhere and didn't even drop artifacts. Then he remembered something, a certain skill. His eyes glowed as he smirked, muttering that he should have used it from the start. It was his detection spell. By activating the Eyes of Detection, he could mark all monsters within a 100-meter radius, with a maximum range of 500 meters. Any that left the zone would still remain marked. He cast it, and was shocked to find that so many monsters still remained. He thought he had already cleared most of them. For a moment he considered just skipping some. Then he spotted something small, a flying insect. He wondered if even a fly could count as a monster. But since it was marked, the answer was yes. Then it suddenly exploded. A suicide fly. He managed to react just in time, escaping with only minor burns. If he hadn't, he might have lost a hand. He knew then, if suicide flies were around, there had to be magician-type monsters nearby. Soon, more flies swarmed him from all directions, exploding at once under the control of several magician monsters. They were skeletal figures cloaked in robes. Back at the meeting, Min-jae turned to Ga-hee again. He told her that he understood she thought highly of Sang-hyun, but pressed her for details. Aside from his battle sense, did she have data on any of his skills or titles? Because from his perspective, her analysis suggested that Sang-hyun had some unusual method of obtaining them. He asked if he was wrong. Ga-hee admitted he wasn't. She explained that she had considered that possibility herself. It was her own theory, but if there was even a small chance that theory was correct. Inside the dungeon, Sang-hyun emerged from another blast unharmed. A glowing shield surrounded him, his defensive sword skill. By channeling his blade, he could form a barrier that blocked incoming attacks. But it came with limits. He could only move backward. 2 mana drained every second, and if the barrier was broken, he'd have to activate it again. Still, Sang-hyun grinned. It was his turn to counterattack. Meanwhile, Ga-hee finished her thought. She declared that Shin Sang-hyun could be a player beyond normal comprehension. A few days earlier, in the underground training room of Player Town's Building C, arrows were shot. Sang-hyun deflected them smoothly with his sword. It had already been 3 days since he started this training. Normally, aside from special cases like consuming artifacts or having unique abilities, gaining new skills followed a simple rule: constant training. By following known training paths, it was fairly easy to pick up passive skills. But active skills like full charging required a different approach. For those, one needed a strict routine and consistent practice. Since the conditions were so specific, most players never shared the information. Finding them usually came down to luck, though. That would only be true if he didn't have years of experience to guide him. Back inside the dungeon, after Sang-hyun had used defensive sword, the magician-type beasts grew wary and curious. They produced more suicide flies. The swarm swirled straight toward him. He thought about how valuable the defensive sword was. It had taken him a lot of effort to find. As a defensive skill, it was incredible. But the drawback of not being able to advance while using it was just too limiting. Explosions shook the area, filling it with thick black smoke. Then, cutting through the haze, Sang-hyun emerged. In a blink, he closed the distance to the magician-type monsters. Grinning, he muttered that rules were always meant to be broken. The robed skeletons panicked. With a gesture, they summoned green flames, the spell Inferno. The fire expanded rapidly, surrounding the battlefield. But Sang-hyun didn't slow down. He told them it was already too late. Spinning on his heel, he cut through them with a clean slash. One figure, fully clad in armor, stood at a distance, watching as the magician beasts burned. Then a crystal appeared. It was a purple magic stone, a rare drop. A high-grade stone like that could easily sell for 100 million. The tougher the dungeon, the better the rewards. He decided to collect it later, after clearing the place. For now, he moved quickly toward the dungeon's center. With detection active, the system notified him only one monster remained. That surprised him. Where had all the mobs gone in such a short time? And where was this last monster hiding? A chill ran down his spine. He realized that something was behind him. It was too late to react properly. He couldn't even tell from which direction it would strike. He had no choice but to take a gamble. He jumped, praying his decision was right. The ground beneath him shattered. He hadn't expected that. Now he understood why the other monsters had disappeared. They hadn't been defeated. They had fled. Because of this thing right here, a monster that didn't care if it was facing friend or foe, it just kills everything. The Death Knight. It swung at him while he was still in midair. He wondered why it was there instead of guarding the dungeon's center. Just standing before it, Sang-hyun felt the truth. This was the monster that had killed his friend's sister, the middle boss, the Death Knight of penance and rage. He clenched his teeth, determined not to let history repeat itself. Summoning every ounce of strength, he raised his blade and blocked its strike. The clash nearly overwhelmed him. The Death Knight's strikes were unbearably heavy. Each blow forced Sang-hyun backward. Unlike ordinary undead, the Death Knight was exactly what its name implied. A knight born from death itself. To be precise, it was a monster created when the soul of a fallen knight was bound to an undying body. Its main ability, Swamp of Silence, was always active. Anyone who touched the aura beneath its feet would immediately be silenced. Because of this, the association once judged that dungeons like Silent Ground would be much easier if cleared by parties with ranged fighters. Using the ghouls in the dungeon as a reference point, they estimated Silent Ground's difficulty to be around level 120. That, however, was the association's greatest mistake. The Death Knight's true threat wasn't the swamp. It was the knight's soul itself. When the soul of a highly trained knight merged into its body, the danger level of a Death Knight skyrocketed. After this truth came to light, Silent Ground's difficulty rating was re-evaluated. The Death Knight that ruled within it was later ranked between A+ and S. The Death Knight slammed him into the ground. Sang-hyun coughed blood, his chest burning. For the first time, he felt he might actually die here. A faint blue glow spread across his body. He gritted his teeth, furious. Every time he brushed against death, his old habits resurfaced. In danger, his first instinct was always self-doubt, and he knew, if that continued, he would never change. He then called out the Death Knight's attention. He glared at the looming figure, taunting it to come at him with everything it had. The Death Knight didn't move, but its expression twisted, clearly enraged. The Death Knight was surprised when Sang-hyun moved sideways. Then it chased him. It was all according to Sang-hyun's plan. He knew it would be stupid to fight it with the health points he has left. So he needed a way to recover his health points somehow. The system notified him of the number of monsters detected. There were 17 at first, but it kept increasing. Just as he expected, while the Death Knight was away, they moved toward the center to avoid the fight. He saw a door ahead of him, and he went through it. On the other side of that door were the monsters. It saw him and shrieked loudly. He targeted them and split their bodies in half by continuously attacking them, while the Death Knight was behind him. He activated the skill, Clever Hunter, a C-rank title which enables him to restore 1 stamina whenever he defeats a monster of a smaller or larger size. He was happy with that. Eventually, he recovered 35 health points due to the effects of Clever Hunter. Also, he's much faster thanks to the artifact that he got in the last rift, making it much easier to lose to whoever's chasing him. He decided to continue recovering his HP that way. He slashed the monsters in front of him as he made his way to the deepest part of the dungeon while being chased by the Death Knight. He passed through another door and reached the deepest part of the silent ground. He was surprised to see what was ahead of him. There was a mob of monsters. He didn't expect there to be so many left, but he liked it since it will help him completely recover his HP. He had the plan on his mind. But he was caught off guard when the Death Knight attacked him. The shock made him curse out loud. Then he saw the Death Knight slashed all the monsters in just 1 strike. He cursed at it again, but then he realized that the attack wasn't meant for him. He saw it made a fountain of blood from chopping off the bodies of the monsters. Then it looked at him. He realized that the Death Knight learned that he's recovering his HP, so it killed all its allies. It attacked him. Our MC attempted to strike back by using his knockback burst. He didn't mind that the Death Knight killed the monsters, since he also had recovered enough and he found an opening to attack. But to his surprise, it didn't work. It was because he was in the range of the Death Knight's Swamp of Silence, where all skills had been nullified. At this point, Sang-hyun knew he messed up. The Death Knight found its chance to attack. It blasted him towards the wall and made him cough blood. He realized that he made a stupid mistake, especially when he already took a mental note to be wary of that. All the health points that he recovered were gone. He would have died if he hadn't blocked using his great sword. It was evident in his eyes that he's losing hope. He thought of his dead colleagues, and it reminded him not to give up yet. Not when their deaths fueled him. He recalled his friend asking for a favor. He wished to be buried next to his younger sister. That time, he encouraged his friend not to give up since breakdown was almost over, and the rescue team will soon be there. Sang-hyun encouraged him to stay awake. But unfortunately, his friend was gone. Sang-hyun was in deep sorrow, which he expressed by screaming out loud. At the present moment, the Death Knight just stood there, waiting for the smoke to be cleared up. Sang-hyun expressed that it was all wrong, that it was all his fault for trying to manage his endurance until the final boss round. He admitted that he was wrong and he's not going to repeat his mistakes. He claimed that the fight will be over. He unleashed dark energy from his body. It was the sign that he activated his skill, Psychedelic. He didn't want to give up there, and it wasn't because he's tied down by his goals or the past. He approaches the Death Knight. They moved so quickly. Sang-hyun was fueled by the things that he wanted to protect. Their swords clashed repeatedly. He could feel that just a light scratch was enough to rip away his palm's skin. He won't be able to defeat it in a pure battle of strength. But he realized something. He finally found out what it was that he was better than with the Death Knight. He evaded a powerful attack from it. The Death Knight was surprised that he was gone, and he appeared behind it. The Death Knight sensed him. Sang-hyun lectured it that its attack meant nothing if he couldn't land it. And then his sword landed on the Death Knight's armor and triggered a critical hit. Critical hit rates were affected by the player's luck stat. The current critical range was 120% to 600%. He blasted it away as the critical hit range reached 600%. The Death Knight received continuous damage. Then, it crashed on the ground. Sang-hyun clicked his tongue. Then he told the Death Knight to stop being dramatic and get up. He knew that the fight wouldn't end that easily. The Death Knight's helmet broke, and it revealed its skull covered in fiery blue flame. It used its last life's flames as sacrifice, and all physical stats had been increased. Sang-hyun waited for its next move. He's aware that all Death Knights had different skill levels, but there was one similarity among them all, and it happens when their health points were below 10%. It was about to self-destruct in 10 seconds. It was the start of the common pattern of death game of tag. The Death Knight emitted a surge of energy. With the level he was at the moment, he knew he'll die by the first attack it does. Trying to kill it was basically suicide. In that situation, he's absolutely a prey, but he won't just let himself get eaten. A prey still has its role to fulfill. 10 seconds from that, the Death Knight approaches him. It tried to claw him, but he was able to evade it. His plan was to run as much as he could. The Death Knight's attack shattered the ground. Fortunately, he was able to sidestep, but the impact still overwhelmed him. He grits his teeth and puts all his strength into running. The Death Knight turned around and chased him. There were 9 seconds left. He saw the Death Knight gathering energy on its left hand. Sang-yun had an idea what it was doing. It extended its hand to the direction of its sword. It pulled the sword into him. The sword traveled fast back to its hand. As the timer turned to 8 seconds, Sang-yun decided to interfere. He threw his sword to blast the Death Knight's sword away. The countdown continued. The Death Knight made a growling sound. It was so pissed. It screamed loudly as it chased after Sang-yun. 6 seconds left, and Sang-yun realized that he had so much time left. But his body was going into overdrive, and he could feel his lungs being crushed. But he prayed to make it. He just needs a bit more time. He forced his body to hold on. The Death Knight unleashed another powerful attack. Sang-yun lost his balance because of the attack. At this point, only 5 seconds left. His body was scraped on the floor. He was alarmed when the Death Knight closed the gap between them. The system warned him that he's in the range of Death Knight's Swamp of Silence. All skills had been nullified. He forced himself to think of something, because if he doesn't, he'll die. Back then, Sang-yun fought the monsters. Those things were sliced into 2. The battlefield was messy with the dismembered bodies and blood. But finally, he ended all those fucking ghouls. His friend arrived and asked if he was done. He replied that he just finished. He was surprised to see his friend completely fine, so it made him curious how that happened. His friend grinned and responded that it wasn't hard enough. That was news to him, because he had a hard time with those ghouls. They spammed their silence skill, which made it difficult for him. It was basically a death sentence for a swordsman like him. His friend replied that it was the reason why he told him to get those status abnormality potions from the guild, but he never listened. He argued that he wasn't being stubborn. It was just that he doesn't see the significance of an artifact with a 2-hour-long cool time. The ghouls would have used silence to him by then. Sang-yun's comrade replied that it was the reason why he had to use it smartly. Even if the cool time was 2 hours, he can still use it once, so he can make a change with that. He pointed out that it was to perfectly clear a raid in the situation he's given. Is the sole purpose of a player. They fooled around while he told his friend not to lecture him. He complained that if it was that easy, he'd already be a ranked player. His friend argued that he's saying the truth. Sang-yun got more annoyed when he said that. And now, in the present moment, he realized that he was in no position to be treating his friend like that. He activated recovery skills which disable the effects of the silence. Then he used his skill Backstep. His step backwards was heavy to the point that it made the ground crack. Backstep is a movement skill that allows him to quickly step backwards. The direction the feet are facing will be the deciding factor for the standard of backwards. For opponents who were not careful, it created a good opportunity. Using that, Sang-yun was able to create a distance between them. There were only 3 seconds left. The Death Knight saw that he's far away again, and it got furious. It screamed out loud. With 2 seconds left, Sang-yun was left dangling on a chandelier. He was sick and tired of this Death Knight. By this time, he had used up all his mana with Backstep, and he had no more cards left on his sleeve. The Death Knight approaches him again. He let go of the chandelier, and that helped him evade the incoming attack. The timer turned to 1, followed by Sang-yun being blasted away. He doesn't have any strength left in him, but he doesn't know how much time is left. He knew it was the end of him when he saw the Death Knight charging towards him again. He started wondering where things went wrong, but he realized that every step of the way has been riddled with mistakes. He misjudged the strength of the opponent in the beginning and took a ridiculously large amount of damage. He repeated that mistake later on, too, but at least he fought better during the end. But he felt that he should have used his regression much more wisely. Unexpectedly, the Death Knight's body started dissipating. Right before it could touch him, it made him laugh because our boy realized that he really is a lucky son of a bitch. Finally, it was all over. 10 seconds were up. At this point, he felt like he regressed one more time. The system congratulated him for defeating the Death Knight. He had earned more experience than he ever had, and he leveled up several times. Plus, his stamina had been recovered. He almost forgot about that. Complete health recovery through a big level up saved him. However, health points and stamina were separate things. He still doesn't have his stamina back. And he still has a penalty from psychedelic too. He could keep on building penalties and go through the raid. But the final boss of Silent Ground was not an easy opponent. It would be too difficult for him to move like that, so it led him to one thought, the only thing he could do at the moment, which was to undo the psychedelic. He had to recover his stamina to take the penalty already. He thought he would be fine since he hadn't received any attacks after activating psychedelics. But unexpectedly, he felt something strange in his body. Then it was followed by pain, an excruciating pain. Psychedelic has been undone, which renders him severely exhausted because of the built-up damage. He screamed out loud. The system warned him that the build-up damage was the above permitted limit. The intensity of the exhaustion would become worse, and if the state was prolonged, it could lead to death. He wished he was informed of that ahead of time. He was in a bad situation since he's also losing his consciousness. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the Silent Ground, the staff could tell something was off. The analysis showed that Sang-hyun should be out already. The sister of Sang-hyun's friend, along with her team, were in front of the gate worried that something happened there. One of them thought of making a report, but the younger sister of his friend refused that idea because Sang-hyun insisted on going there so he's accountable. But she's evidently worried. She complained that it was annoying. It made her wonder what he's still doing there. Meanwhile, Sang-hyun passed out. And that's it for this manhwa. The author will be taking a 4-month break, and then it will have new chapters again. These waifus will be back for our MC. Hopefully, you guys too. With that, I, Manhwa Dealer, thank you for supporting the series. Here's the Goddess of Luck to boost your luck stat for making it at the end of the video. And just a little teaser, here's the goddess appearing right after our boy passed out. Thank you all for watching. Please watch this next Giga Chad video, and I'll see you guys next time. Also, support the channel by joining the Summon Club membership. You can also support by just liking the video and being awesome.